Can this hear me? It's working. Hello, chat. How are you guys doing? Why is my damn camera not working here? I don't. Come on. Come on. No, that's not. Hold on, chat. Give me 1 second here. All right, chat. How are I? Okay, I guess we'll use this one anyway. Screw it. We'll go back to the old one. Hold on. Whatever. All right. Come on. Focus. Focus. Come on. Come on. There we go. All right, chat. Well, no, I don't tech illiterate. It's click on camera, nothing else is running, and it doesn't want to fucking run. I don't know what more to do. I mean, yeah, it's all fucking freaking out now. Anyway, what the fuck happened over on the kill stream you guys are messing with? So, whatever. Just don't go around dicking around on other places. Anyway, hi guys. So, welcome to the show. We are going to get into the Pike County murders. And if you guys don't remember these, that's okay, because this happened in 2016. It's kind of a big deal when it happened. It was a big deal here in Ohio, and it's been something that, it's kind of gone on for a while, and it still isn't over. It still isn't over yet. So we're going to get started in this because two of them were finally sentenced. And we know that because, well, I mean, it happened on Friday. Two of them were finally sentenced. It was a little weird. It's a little weird how this all shook out. But before we get too far into this, we need to kind of do like a little bit of a history lesson for you guys, just so you're aware of where we're talking about, what's going on. So, first of all, this is Pike County, Ohio, right down here in the red. This is in the heart of Appalachia. It's down there. It's down there. It's a nice place. It's a nice little place if you're trying to go through. It's a county of 30,000 people. I think the census before, I actually think the last census was under 30,000, but it might be a little more now. But it's about under 30,000 people, and it's a nice little place when you drive through. Especially if you're going to, you're trying to go to like Portsmouth. It's not bad. It's a nice little place to go. That's really the only reason why you'll be traveling through there is because Route 23 takes you to Portsmouth. But it's a nice little quiet place. And oh, you guys, Ashley says I'm 2 counties away. Yeah, and down this way, it's very sparsely populated, guys. In fact, you have if you go a little farther to the east, you get into some of the more sparsely populated areas of Ohio, including Vinton County, which has 13,000 people living in it. If you go to the east, you're into fracking country as well. So it's God's country down there. It's God's country down there. And back in April of 2016, April 22nd to be exact, the Pike County massacre occurred. And what you ended up having was a couple different mobile homes. So like here, there's a house here. There's a mobile home here, a mobile home here. And then down the road, there was another home. And in those homes, the Rhoden family, and it's these people here, the Rhodens, basically got snuffed out as a family. So, like the entire Rhoden family, and this is different different branches of it and different parts of it, but this entire family, all these people got killed. They were found dead in their homes. A couple of them were found dead in their beds. And it's clear whoever killed them got the drop on them. Now, there were a lot of issues. Is this by Newcomb stiff? No. No. So, what happened? Well, they were basically all killed in their sleep in the middle of the night. And we don't other than that, there were a couple of children who survived. They were spared. At first I wasn't sure if they how it all happened, but there were children in the homes and they were left alone. How did they get into the homes? I think they were able to break in, but some of them weren't secured. I mean, this is an area where you don't keep your doors locked. I mean, rural Ohio, I mean, where I grew up, you didn't lock your car doors. You could leave keys in a car. Like that was common too. For a very long time, but it's a very quiet place. You know, people know each other, people know each other. You don't have to worry about stuff like that. So yeah, it's from what I understand, they didn't really have to force entry. They were able to get into the homes. Um, but like I said, in this part of Ohio, man, it's not Cleveland. It's not Columbus. You don't have to lock your doors. So anyway, they were found all dead. And at the time when this happened, nobody knew what happened. People were sitting there thinking it was the cartels because they had a marijuana grow operation going. People thought it was like the cartels or some crazy drug connections or criminal enterprises. There were a million different things that happened and nobody really knew. And going back to this, this case was so elaborate that the two mobile homes that were there, these and another mobile home were taken and hooked up to trucks and moved and actually stored in a building for forensic evaluation. So these things can be kept taken apart and the evidence preserved. But yeah, a lot of these are, garbage cars, but you can see there were police cars. There's all kinds of investigators, everything, but a lot of junk cars on this property too. Now, what did they eventually find out? Well, they eventually found out, going back to this, Hanna had a kid. And with this, hold on here, chat. I'm trying to grab the now Hanna Rhoden was 19 when she died. She had a kid. And she had a kid with, and this is Hanna right here. Hanna had a kid with this guy here, Jake Wagner. Now, Jake had sex with Hanna when he was 20 and she was 15. So Jake was yeah. Anyway, with all this, Jake and Hanna had a kid. And as a result of it, there was a custody battle. And as these custody battles go, moms tend to get the kids, at least starting off. Well, the Wagner family, and Jake and George are brothers. And I always think it's weird when people have these weird names like that. But their mom, this is mom, Angela, and this is dad, George Billy Wagner. Billy. Anyway, those are the four of them. So they went in and killed the entire fucking family over basically child custody. Now, there are some allegations this was done for some, oh, we were protected because we were concerned the kid was getting diddled. We don't even really know. We don't really know for sure. We have our theories about what happened there. Anyway, they committed these murders. They used the guns they used. They actually then did, they buried the guns in 5-gallon buckets full of concrete and turned them into boat anchors and gave them to a family relative who used them as boat anchors. And then eventually the boat anchors were cut. And then those anchors were rotting and basically decaying on the bottom of a pond. Eventually, as the police did their investigations, middle of the night hit, we were protecting ourselves. Yeah. So, um, they did this, and Jake eventually confessed to pretty much everything. They were the family. Well, and it got really weird after a while. If you guys have never seen it, there's a picture or two that I think is always interesting. This is a picture of at the funeral for the Rhodens. This is Billy Wagner, Jake Wagner, and George Wagner all going into the funeral. So it's a little interesting that happened. So as things went on, the Wagners eventually were being suspected of this, and everybody in the community fucking hated them. There was a lot of scrutiny on them. They moved to Alaska. Jake Wagner took the daughter he and Hanna had, Sophia, and they moved to Alaska to get out of the way. Eventually, the police kind of closed in on them. And then when they were back here in Ohio, they all got arrested. And they eventually got arrested in 2018. And they've all been in jail since 2018. And as we go through this, just so you guys understand what happened here, the cases are not over. And that's why we're doing this today. The cases are not all the way over yet. Right now, and you're going to see it, Jake Wagner is going to enter a plea in this video we're going to watch. And we're going to watch the plea. Angela's going to enter a plea. George Wagner's doing life without parole for aggravated murder and a couple of other crimes that were tied to all those. He went to trial, and he's facing life without parole. George Billy Wagner goes to trial in March. And if it's filmed, we'll watch it. I know at the very least, and we may watch it if we have time coming up, George Wagner's trial was actually televised, and I think I finally found it here on YouTube. It was streamed. Took me a little while digging, but I did find it. We may watch that as a trial to get caught up on some things, because it'll tell you a lot about what happened. So his trial was televised. It appears Billy Wagner will be televised as well. But these two are taking pleas, and we're going to watch them get sentenced for their pleas. So that's kind of the status of everything. That's where we are. That's where everything is at this point. George Wagner IV, there are 3 more. Oof. Yeah. COVID did add 2 years to everything. It did. But here's the thing. When you have a mass murder like this, it's going to take a long time. There have been a lot of issues. There's been a lot of scandal actually in Pike County. The sheriff ended up getting indicted for some different things not related to this, but things got drawn out. They've had different judges involved. And in fact, Billy Wagner is attempting to get a new venue, and it was apparently just granted recently. And we'll go over that change of venue coming up. There's a lot going on. They're trying to get his judge disqualified through the Supreme Court. So there are a lot of issues there. There are a lot of issues going on with this. Yes, but the real important testimonies are from people named Wagner, and Jake and Angela weren't televised. That's correct. So there's only so much of it we can watch, but I'm going to take a look at it and see what's worth looking at. So that is, yeah, it's like a 4-month-long trial, but we're going to try to see what we can get through. So anyway, that's where we are with these Pike County murders. And as I said, the whole issue about them hiding the guns, Jake confessed to where the guns were, and they went and the police went and sent divers into the pond. And guess what? They found the concrete blocks and they chipped it all away, and they found guns in the middle. So that's kind of where we are. And that is, judges too close to local families can't be impartial. I forget exactly why they filed it, Pinochet, but we'll take a look at it. Me generally, Zemo. We'll have time coming up. So we're gonna get started on this, and we're gonna start with the We're going to start with the plea hearing here, okay, guys? I've got it turned up the best I can. Some of the audio sucks, but we're going to do this. We're going to get to this the best we can here. There is some... It is interesting because normally when we watch these sentencings, the way the judges handle it is interesting. But the way this judge goes about it actually is pretty good. So here we go. And if you guys need me to turn it up more, I will try to turn it up more. So here we are.
So before you have a seat, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't think that's proper for a courtroom, personally. But he's a judge, gets to do it.
Go ahead and be seated. Good morning. Good. All right, so there's 3 cases on the court's docket today. 2018 CR 158, State of Ohio versus Rita Newcomb. 2018 CR 150.
And before I get too far, Rita Newcomb is like the mother of Angela Wagner. She ended up trying to give the police some bullshit stories and kind of lied about some material facts. So she got charged with a couple of counts of obstructing justice. So that's what her major problem was. She's actually okay in all of this. She's going to turn out all right. Remember, it's the Wagners we're actually worried about here.
56, State of Ohio versus Angela Wagner. 2018 CR 154, State of Ohio versus Edward Jake Wagner. The cases are set for sentencing today. Mr. O'Brien, I'm sorry, he's not here. Ms. Kenneth is here on behalf of... There he is. Mr. O'Brien, how are you?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm not appointed on that case. It's scheduled for sentencing.
Okay.
So,
You-
I will not participate.
You're welcome to sit wherever you like. Appreciate your experience. Ms. Kenneth is here on behalf of the state. I'll introduce the defense lawyers as the cases are called forward. I asked everybody to say the Pledge of Allegiance this morning as an acknowledgement that this is a government function. Sentencing in criminal cases is exactly that. There's a lot of different perspectives in the courtroom. There's a lot of different interests here. But the one common bond that we have in this function is that it's a government activity. So if you can understand my responsibility is to come at it from that perspective, you're all entitled to have your own viewpoint. But that was the start of it. Sentencings in most cases have a certain amount of emotion. The more egregious the case, the more difficult the facts, often the higher the emotions. In high profile cases, there's expected public discussion. It's not unusual for people to later on go express their First Amendment opportunities and rights to communicate with each other. Often that means, did the judge get it right? Did he listen to the defendant's side or the victim's side or the state side or whatever side they advocate for? And that's all appropriate for people to be able to have their perspective as a part of our First Amendment privilege. However, the right to public discourse really doesn't exist in this room outside the rules. And the rules are that decorum matters. So everybody's been well behaved, and I expect that to continue all the way through. As I explain the process to you, I'll expect you to follow the process. It's an open courtroom. The Ohio Open Courts Amendment to the Constitution allows the...
I don't know. Chad, I don't know why it froze up there.
through the internet.
Now, here's what I will say since it froze up when we got a second. This judge is different than a lot of the other ones. You're going to see he actually wants people to follow the fucking rules. Like, we're going to act civilized here. You're not going to act like a bunch of goddamn savages. Notice that's a very different thing than what we're dealing with, let's say, in the Nicholas Cruz case, where the judge let everybody go ham on things. Remember, that's kind of the difference here about what we're talking about, what we're allowing here, and how you're going to allow it. He's kind of pointing out, like, nah, you guys don't get to do that shit. We're not going to let you do it. We're not going to let you handle it. And oh, there we go. The other camera finally fucking works. Anyway, and there we go. Anyway, there we go. Cool. That's kind of what we're looking at here, but he's going to get to the rest of it as we go.
Or whatever access. That's all appropriate. I get that. But the right to public discourse has its limits. So the privilege of being here is only as good as you are. If somebody wants to express their First Amendment rights during the course of the proceeding, I'll shut that down really quickly, because in this setting with emotions on all sides of the case, there won't be any spirited debate. That can all happen out on the street, but it's not going to happen in the room. With regard to some preliminary matters, I want to call attention to the fact that the court staff has done a fine job pointing me in the right direction, getting me to the right places, helping with scheduling. So I guess I want to acknowledge the Pike County Common Pleas Court staff, and then carry that a step further is to acknowledge the Pike County Sheriff's Department and the STAR transport team with regards to logistics and public safety. So to the extent that the sheriff provides a lot of resources, the court wants to acknowledge that also. The process today will be as follows. There's some legal matters to take care of with regard to Angela's case and Jake's case. Best way to introduce them that way. So I'll take care of those preliminary matters after the sentencing involving Rita Newcomb, because that's a relatively straightforward case. But with regard to the legal matters, what I'll do then is this. First, have the state make a recommendation on all three cases, have the victim's statement on all three cases, sentence Ms. Newcomb after hearing from her lawyer and her. Then I'll switch to Angela Wagner's case, work on merger, then I'll work on Jake Wagner's case with regard to merger and sentencing. So we're going to do one state recommendation, we're going to do one victim statement that applies to all of them, and then we're going to individually sentence three people. There's a lawyer here on behalf of the victims, Ms. Gall or Galley?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Gall on behalf of the victims.
Gall, G-A-L-L-E, Gall. Thank you for being here. The only unresolved issue is whether or not the victim representative, who you identified as TR, would like that person's identity or their statement to be televised. They have the right to confidentiality. So I just need to know for the media how you want to do that.
Your Honor, there are actually four victims that would like to address the court, and for the Constitution and the rights that they do have the right to be heard in public proceedings involving sentencing, especially.
Now remember, chat, in Ohio, you have a Victims' Bill of Rights, Marcy's Law, so they have the right to come in, and they have the right to have an attorney. They have a right to be heard. They have the right to speak. They also have the right to speak through a written statement that someone else reads. They have all these rights. The court's going through those. So, here we go.
Citations for that, if you'd like, but TR is actually not going to speak. It's going to be for others. I believe Angie Kenneth is reading two of those statements on behalf of the victims, and the victim mother would like to speak.
I'll try to turn this up just a hair, chat. Hold on here.
So let's have an understanding.
How about
I
that?
just wanted to know first whether they wanted to be seen or not. So can you answer that for me?
They have no objection to being recorded.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, the second question would be, why at the 12th hour, you tell me that you have other victims and you entered appearances for people you haven't entered appearances on. I'm going to give you what you want to a point, because the obligation to come in and represent people doesn't mean to come in and change the script. So there's 10 minutes allocated to whatever four people are going to speak. I just need to have an identity for the record. If you want to use initials and give the court reporter their names, that'd be fine. But like you entering an appearance on behalf of somebody that doesn't.
So there you go. I mean, that's also an interesting thing, chat. Judge is like, you got 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes. We're not going to sit here and let you juice your tampons for an hour. You got 10 minutes between the four of you. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And the judge is saying, well, what is your purpose right now? because he doesn't want her gumming up the works.
Court reporter their names, that'd be fine. But like you entering an appearance on behalf of somebody that doesn't want to speak really doesn't work for me. So don't answer that. Just understand that I'll give your 4 people 10 minutes and I want their identity and you want to give me initials. That's fine. Just write down their name so I have it for the record. Understand? Do you understand? Do you understand?
Oh.
So you can make the
So he's asking, do you understand the words? Remember, this is something where I had to learn this when I was in front of a judge I dealt with. Yes. The answer is yes. And then you say, Your Honor, may I explain something else, or may I make, yes, Your Honor, I understand that. But I also have a concern or something else. You don't, no, he's like, I'm fucking asking you a question. Tell me. I will say this guy does a very good job of controlling the courtroom.
record after we're done. Now, do you understand what I just said?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, then sit down. Thank you.
So,
With regard to
yes.
Mr. Newcomb's case, it's Mr. Gerlach, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Nice to meet you. So appreciate your representation, Mr. Gerlach. Any questions about the process? This is the recommendation from the state on all 3 cases, then the victim, then your statement, your defendant's statement, and then I'll sentence. Understand all that? Does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay, good enough. So Ms. Konepka, go ahead.
I just want to clarify, Your Honor, you want me to give a recommendation for Ms. Newcomb?
All 3.
Okay. I would like to first place on the record, Your Honor, I did not file a written sentencing memorandum as to Ms. Newcomb. However, I am making the same objection to the timing of the sentencing that I made in both Angela and Jacob Wagner's case specifically, Your Honor, as this court knows, based on field reporting. The agreement at the time that these agreements were reached between the parties, there was also an agreement that the sentencing would be delayed until after the disposition or resolutions of all of the remaining co-defendants in the case. At Ms. Newcomb's time in 2019.
Are you going to make a recommendation on sentencing?
I am, Your Honor.
I got your objection. It's been in the record 5 times. I don't need to hear it again. It's overruled, so please make your recommendation.
I understand the court is going to overrule me, but I need to make a record.
So, Mr. O'Brien, be ready to stand in because there's no public debate today. The argument I'm hearing from your co-counsel has been beaten dead. It's been beaten dead. I asked her to make a sentencing recommendation. I asked her previously not to talk over me. The next thing that happens is she'll move to the back of the courtroom. After that, she'll be escorted out of the building, in which case you need to be ready to step in because I'm not interested in old hash. She objected so many times, I have it in my sleep. I don't need it again. It's in the record. So I'm going to ask her again to make a sentencing recommendation on all 3 cases. If that doesn't work, then I'll take some disciplinary action. It's really easy to follow the rules until you don't have respect for the rules. So there's no debate today. We're just going to do this. I'd like you to be ready to step in case it doesn't work for her. Understand?
So this is again how you control a courtroom. And he's dealt with this case for a long time. He's kind of just put up with the bullshit. The other thing is you hear Mr. O'Brien, that's the former Franklin County where Columbus is prosecutor. Everybody in this, the judge is a visiting judge. The prosecutors are visiting prosecutors. Nobody is a Pike County official in this case, as far as the judge or the prosecutor is concerned.
Your Honor, only thing I would say for the record is that I'm not privy to the previous plea agreements on Jake and Angela and Newcomb, so I need some time to review those before I really clarify.
I understand. Thank you. They're all in writing. Thanks.
And at least I think that Ms. Konepka should be ready to proceed.
I hope so.
Recommendations on
Yeah.
all 3 cases.
That's what I asked for. Now, recommendations.
Certainly, Your Honor. Regarding Ms. Newcomb, Your Honor, I'm deferring to the court on that. We did not have an agreed sentence in that case, and she has been very cooperative, and she did testify in George's case, and the case has been obviously pending for 5 years now, slightly more than 5 years now, slightly under 5 years, I guess, this would be. And so I would defer to the court as to what Ms. Newcomb's sentence should be. As to Ms. Wagner, Angela Wagner, I'll proffer my objections after the court hearings, and I don't disturb the court any further on that. But I would simply ask the court to go along with the joint recommendation of 30 years. I know Mr. Crank has filed a sentencing memorandum in which he indicated that per a recent ruling, I believe summer night, the court can only run 2 of these gun specifications consecutively. There are 6-year gun specs on multiple offenses, so of course the state would request the court impose the 6-year gun specifications as to 2 counts. And then I don't really care how else the court gets to the 30 jointly recommended sentence.
So real quick, chat. Angela's being recommended for 30 years, and you heard them talking about gun specs. In Ohio, you have gun specification. Use a gun in a crime. Every state, there's going to be some sort of enhancement. In Ohio, for adults, it's mandatory and consecutive time. So, for example, if you commit robbery, you could face anywhere from, let's say aggravated robbery using a gun. You face anywhere from 3 to 11 years. Okay, so let's say you get 3 years. But you also discharge the firearm. Okay, and you use it. Well, now you're facing a potential 3-year gun specification, depending on what you end up pleading out to or get convicted of. So you get 3, let's say the court gives you 3 years, and then you get the gun specification for 3 years. That's mandatory and consecutive. Although in reality, you technically serve the 3 years first. And the way Ohio does it, your mandatory time is served up front. And it makes sense pretty much everywhere else too. So you have mandatory time, and then you then serve your next 3 years. And then after those 3 years, you could be released or get parole. But you can't get parole while you're in a mandatory sentence. So. You guys are so mean to her. She's trying. She's trying. She's trying real hard, chat.
As to, I will note for the record that Ms. Wagner did appear and testify in her son's case, George Wagner's, in 2022. And the state believes still that she testified truthfully in that case. So I would put that on the record as well. Regarding Edward Jacob Wagner, similarly, Your Honor, would respectfully request, and I obviously did forward sentencing memorandums, it basically says the same things, but yet we would request that the court go along with the joint recommendation in this case, which is specifically, and I provided a chart to the court, just because I know at some point the court has to create a sentencing entry, and outlaying what the maximum sentence is in each of those. That was the joint recommendation, is that he receive maximum consecutive sentences. I think at the time that Judge Daring took the plea, obviously he also indicated he would be going along with the joint recommendation of Password. And I believe during the colloquy with Mr. Wagner, he did ask him if he understood that he would probably, not probably, that he would not live outside of prison. And Mr. Wagner indicated that he understood that. The sentence that was jointly recommended is the same sentence that his brother, George Wagner, got, and they are very similarly situated in that both of them went up on the hill that night and were responsible for the deaths of these 8 individuals, I should say, and on North Road. So again, Your Honor, I would respectfully request that the court impose the jointly recommended sentences. These were very carefully negotiated and constructed agreements. Both parties were fully represented, and these were the recommendations of all parties involved.
Thank you very much. So, Ms. Gall, how do you want to introduce your first victim? Initials?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so who's first?
Andrea Shoemaker, she does not.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shoemaker. Go ahead, thank you, Ms. Shoemaker. Just stand, if you would, right there is fine. The court reporter is the most important person here. She needs to hear what happened, so go ahead. Thank you.
Andrea Shoemaker, I'm Hanna Rhoden's mom. You three helped plan, carry out, and murder my grandson, Rita, who was 6 months old, laying in the bed between his mom and dad, Frankie, Rhoden, and Hazel Gilley, let alone your
daughter's mother. How greedy and how of a grandmother are you? How greedy. You killed.
Guys, we talked about this before. These were Hanna. These were two of the other, one of the other couples that were killed, and their child was in the bed with them. And it was a brand new baby, and they murdered those two. And this is the grandmother of this is this guy's mom talking now. But yeah, this is really good. This is actually very powerful.
Your grandmother's, your granddaughter's mother. You're evil. You're evil. You are the spawn of Satan. And the Satan is Billy Wagner. You are the evilest mother to help plan, carry out, and take the lives of 3 other mothers. My daughter was only 20, and you want 30 years of your life behind bars. 30? She was 20! 20! She never even knows about alcohol. She got 6 months of her life with her kid. 6 months. And Hanna Rhoden, the love of your life, Jake Wagner. The love of your life. Your daughter's mother. She got 4 days. Kylie Rhoden got 4 days. Do you know what kind of questions I have to answer? First, it was bad people came in. Next, they see your faces on the news. So guess what? I had to explain more. Because they're not kids, little kids no more. They're not 6 months old. They're not 4 days old. Ruger's soon to be 10. 10 years he's been without a daddy to teach him how to fish, to teach him how to hunt, to do all the man things. He has to depend on uncles, cousins. Because of you, Jake. Greedy Jake Wagner. You. I want you to suffer. This is what I want. And I've told all BCI. I want your mother to live. And you boys.
I mean, to be fair, her whole family got snuffed out over some hillbilly bullshit, over fucking child custody. I don't blame her for being mad. Can you really blame her? I mean, this is probably she's containing herself very well. She's not out here screaming, dropping F-bombs. She's not trying to pull off a leg on the chair and beat one of them to death. She's actually doing this with a lot of poise and a lot of grace. I find it very hard for her that she's doing it like this. I find it hard for her. You can tell it's hard for her to excuse me. It's very hard for her to restrain herself. It was very, very hard. Lisa, what was the crime? Who shot who? Okay, so the Wagners, this whole family right here, murdered 8 other people. And you probably heard about the Pike County murders going back. But anyways, Jake Wagner, Angela, George, and Billy. So the mom and dad and the 2 sons murdered an entire, basically, other family over a child custody dispute. So, if you go back, Lisa, we covered this right at the beginning. We kind of already did this. We did go back through it. They murdered the entire Rhoden family, 8 people, 8 adults. They killed them. They murdered all these people in the middle of the night, over a child custody dispute. Does she have a GoFundMe? I don't know. I don't know there. Demon's Wrath, if you'd like to see the facts, I do kind of leave the facts out down below in the description. And we did kind of already talk about it a little bit. So, but that said, though, I give her credit, and Al Fox, right. I'd be calling them racial. I'd be trying to figure out if I could take the leg off a chair and try to stab one of them. This family was destroyed. She wasn't there. She wasn't there. She wasn't at the homes that got attacked. She lived nearby, but they didn't attack her home. So she didn't escape. It's just they didn't go to her house and kill her. So, yeah, this whole thing is just absolutely insane. So for her to walk up there and just tell them you're absolutely, spawn there, it's not bad. It's not relatively bad. And Maddie, I don't know exactly what they were objecting to over. It might have some ruling the judge made previously, but they had done it a million times. So, but yeah, how did this mom escape? She wasn't there. She wasn't there. She didn't live in that house. So, but you guys, you guys are saying like you're making fun of her. I mean, she's doing very good. This is a lot of grace here. A lot of grace.
To die as well as your dad. I want you to die so your mom feels the heartache of what it's like to bury a child. It's a heartache that never goes away. I hate you. You ruined my life. You ruined innocent children's lives. I hope you die. I pray every day you die. I pray your grandchildren.
Maddie, I just found out. Somebody helped me figure it out. The issue was these two, typically when you testify, and Jake and Angela, going back to this picture, Jake and Angela, they testified in George's trial. They both testified in George's trial. They were also going to have to testify. They're also going to have to testify in Billy's trial. But the problem is they're getting sentenced before they testify, which means you can't really coerce them and you can't force them to do things. This judge decided, I'm going to sentence them now. Now, to be fair, there's probably not a whole lot of change in the testimony they're going to give for trial number 1 versus trial number 2. But, because they have their testimonies already locked in for the most part. But this judge decided to sentence them, and the prosecutors are like, no, we don't want that. The judge said, I don't care. I don't care. So that was what they were arguing about. Oh, Lois says, I was making fun of the killers. Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. I was about to say, because otherwise she... Oh, Bunker Fox says, I've never liked these statement bits. It's... Watching them feels awkward. I mean, let me tell you, this is real life, man. This is sausage being made. This is the nitty gritty. These are people, this is what murder, like we watch these trials that, it's real people. It's real people that absolutely fucking destroy their lives. So, I mean, this is, I hate to say it like this, but this is the cost of doing business. Trial watching. This is, like that case up in New Hampshire, that baby got beaten to death. I mean, any of these things, it's rough. It's rough. So, yeah, Jake and Angela got the death penalty taken off the table, so they're not facing it. Billy Wagner was facing a death penalty until the state kind of fucked up and the judge has removed that from the equation. We're not going to go over that tonight because it's a nice little motion, but we will talk about it. So, the sausage being made is the Jimmy Dean trial. Yeah. There are no free lunches. Nothing comes without a cost, whether it's emotional or what. Angela says they should not have been allowed to take a plea. Well, their plea was secured to go after other people. So, yeah, you wheel and deal. So let's keep going.
Your children never want anything to do with you. And I hope they never do. I hope your daughter hates you with a passion and as much heart as I hate you, Jake Wagner. You shook my hand and acted as if you was my fucking friend. After you shot my daughter 5 times in the head. 5 times, man, Wagner, son lay between them. And Hannah Mae, she's holding her little girl. And you shot her. How cold and evil. You are the spawn of Satan. I'll say it again. Spawns of Satan, you and your brother. And you, evilness, created them. And Miss Rita, I feel so sorry for you because I know you're ashamed to have such a daughter and grandsons that evil. Because you was the first to feel the guilt and say you were sorry and it was your Christian duty to tell the truth. So I have not very many words for me. My heart breaks for you to have such an evil control and response of state.
Thank you, Mr. Maker. Who's next?
Actually, Your Honor, Ms. Canepa has 2 written statements that they requested she read, and then I do have one more live statement
Thank you.
from Lisa Weisel.
Okay. Who's the first statement from Ms. Knepp?
It's Bobby Gilley, Your Honor, the when we first discovered the victims in this case. This whole experience has been absolutely devastating.
This happened Friday, guys. Like literally, like hold on here. Like this happened 2 days ago. I'm sorry, 2 days ago. Like this came on. They literally just got sentenced on Friday. So we literally just got this. 2016 murders, and they're just now getting to sentencings on them. Like sometimes it happens. Sometimes they happen like that.
I just want to make it crystal clear that I hate you and I will never forgive you for what you've done. You're a coward. I hope the rest of your life is absolutely miserable. You don't deserve to be alive. It makes me sick that you're allowed to be the same air that I breathe. You have destroyed my life and the lives of so many others. There's a special place in hell for people like you. You want to act like you're a Christian, God for me, and that cannot be further from the truth. For God hates people like you. You are the devil. All of this is because of you and your mother on a power trip. You will better need to control that poor child's life. And now your daughter has lost everyone. She no longer has her mother, Hanna Rhoden. You've taken everything from that child that you're supposed to protect and provide for. Your daughter will always remember you as a monster and a coward, nothing more, nothing less. All I really want to know is why. Why did they all have to die? Why did you think you had the right to take 8 lives? I'll never understand it all. It feels like a bad dream that I'll never wake from. Congratulations to you, Jake. You have made your daughter an orphan and put yourself in prison for the rest of your miserable existence.
That's the end of the first one.
That's the end of the first one, Your Honor. The next one.
And
Now, guys, this is the prosecutor just ripping through them. I never liked reading these when I had to do them as a prosecutor, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. So,
as you well know, court reports ability to with words, not quickly to talk.
I know you were going to need us much time, so.
Go ahead.
The next one is from Ruth Rhoden, who is the stepmother of Gary Rhoden. I would like you to know that you killed more than 8 people. Kenny, Gary's father, literally grieved himself to death over the murder of his son and the other 10 people. Gary was a good-hearted person, and he would give you the shirt off his back. He never missed his father's birthday or mine. He made it to every holiday. I truly feel that you did much more, so much more these crimes than you're going to do. I ask for justice for Gary and the others in his family. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Last. What's your name, please?
I am Lisa Weigel. I am the niece of Chris and Kenneth and Nick.
Thank you.
I am going to be speaking on behalf of the Rhoden family today. My family feels very strongly that some people have lost sight of what has brought us to this courthouse over and over again, year after year. Let me quickly remind you of the magnitude, the severity of this tragedy. This monstrous crime is the largest mass murder in Ohio. 8 people were brutally murdered. 2 young mothers and 1 young father. And I'm going to drop the face, please, I do. It is nearing the 9-year anniversary, and I assure you, no one wants justice more than our family. However, we do not agree with making hasty decisions to get it over with. We want all responsible parties to be shown no mercy, just like our family is showing no mercy. We can only pray that actions that take place in this courtroom today will not dismantle the justice that still has not been served. The Wagner family are master manipulators. It was all a web of lies. To fit their narrative, they are a true danger for society, and this crime is nothing to be taken lightly or play jeopardy with. And on behalf of me, what I have to say, Jake, we are no longer family. You've said it over and over. We will always be family. No, we will not. I will no longer ever think of you after today. When those doors close behind you, you will be an afterthought to the rest of our family.
Thank you, Mr. White. And so, Mr. Gerlach, you're first and your client, so
Go ahead.
I mean, like, no, everybody in the like everybody in that house was murdered. Stacy, I'm not sure what you mean by someone else died after. So, but yeah, this is all those books, guys. Those books are old law books. They're from like the early 1900s, so they're not valid anymore. But law libraries, even law offices. I mean, heck, behind me, I've got books. I got books. It's meant to just look a little fancy. It's a little bit more of a prop than anything else. So, just you know, like in like when you go to a law office, like those books are just for show now because it looks fancy. Like, ooh, he's got a lot of books. That's really all it's for. I mean, that's just a secret between us. Let's get back to this.
You could sit or stand very comfortable. Okay. I'm Attorney Franklin T. Gerlach, and I represent Rita Newcomb in this case. She has cooperated with the court and the prosecutor, and I understand that there's still another trial, and she is willing to do what she has done before. Now, looking at her, she's already been in the jail approximately 8 days, I'm not sure, on the records. And for a year, she wore the ankle bracelet and her movements and contacts were restricted. And she just recently had open heart surgery on which installed a new valve in her heart. And she's doing fairly well from that. She is on limited income. She has $981 from Social Security. And we offered to the court that perhaps the most appropriate thing would be a sentence that her service already be complete and that there be no financial fine, but she really doesn't have the money to do that.
And guys, I've had to make this argument before. They're of limited means. They're older. They're sickly. I mean, she just had heart surgery. She ain't living long. This lady ain't long for this world at this point anyway. Her health's kind of shit. So, that's what this all is there. And that's the argument you're making. These are the arguments you're making. She spent 8 days in jail. She spent over a year on electronic monitoring and house arrest. So, I mean, that's quite a bit of restriction on her freedom and liberty. So there you go. And he's making a good argument to take care of that.
Do you want to say something?
Thank you, Mr. Gerlach. Mr. Newcomb. Thank you very much.
And what she did, she misled the investigators when they initially started looking into stuff in 2016. Remember, chat, it's why you don't lie to the cops. Just don't say shit. Because if they think you're lying to them, they're going to fuck you over. So don't lie to the police. Just don't tell them nothing. Lips like a statue.
So, okay, go ahead. And that was complete our presentation.
So this offense is called obstructing official business. It's a second-degree misdemeanor.
Guys, this is the thing. All of that happened, and she got charged with, and she ended up pleading out to obstructing official business. It's a second-degree misdemeanor. She faces a maximum fine of $500 and a maximum jail sentence of 90 days in jail. So, well, you guys might get mad about that. They gave her the most basic bitch thing possible. She got a misdemeanor out of this. So, didn't she forge custody papers? Yeah, but that was something else they dismissed. They dismissed. Yeah, she was involved in forging custody papers. There's so many twists and turns in this story, chat. But yes, she's basically facing a misdemeanor here. And the judge is like, well, what do I do with this? And he's gonna explain it to you guys.
The penalty is 90 days in jail and $750 fine. So
I'm sorry, yeah.
Plea
Sorry, $750, not $500, $750.
agreement was presented to the court. Those are the maximums defined by law. The other charges, whatever they were dismissed, so they're of no concern. With regard to the outcome, the probation department's been monitoring her behavior since 2018 and gives no negative reports. So that's a crystal ball in one respect, because the past often predicts the future, but it doesn't have to.
And this is what I've told you before, chat. When you're on pretrial release, how you govern yourself, it's a job audition. You're showing the court, God forbid you end up having to plea or get convicted, of how you're going to govern yourself going forward. Remember, I said this before and I keep saying it. You're trying to convince the court, look, I'm not a fucking asshole. Put me out on probation or give me time served. Well, she did 4 years of no problems at all. That's, that's not easy to do if you have issues. But she is now putting the judge in a position where you are making it harder and harder for him to want to put you in jail. You're giving him too many reasons to not want to do that. There's too many good reasons to keep her out. And she's done a good job at that. And yes, that's why they do it. Send her to Lucasville. She can't go to prison. It's only a misdemeanor. And by the way, guys, Lucasville is the maximum security prison in Ohio. There's also the state penitentiary now, but that's the one where you go get executed at. That's where the death house is. It's actually about a half hour away from where this is all going on in Waverly. So, yeah. So, Grandma is getting a nice deal here. But Grandma also helped herself. She cooperated. She did everything that was necessary.
So their recommendation informally, without a full report, is that she continue on supervision. So I'll set, a 5-year term of adult probation supervision, 180 days jail, 173 suspended, 7 days credit. So no additional time now. You can, however, Ms. Newcomb, earn the additional 173 days if somehow you don't take this seriously and don't report or violate laws. So there's a long list of standards.
The interesting part about Ohio, chat, you hear about some of these other states like Florida, you get 20 years of probation, and Georgia, like 15 years of probation. No, in Ohio, you get 5 years of community control. That's probation. You get 5 years. No matter what your offense is, that's the most you can face. If you're facing a probation eligible offense, misdemeanor or felony, you only face 5 years maximum. Now, could she have gotten less? She could have gotten 0. She could have gotten 1 year, 2 year, 3. There's also times where the judges will give you I'll give you 90 days probation. But generally speaking, at the felony level, you get it in blocks of years. Typically, usually get 2 years on a felony. But if you committed a felony where you got probation, like robbery, you can get probation. I've gotten probation for burglary before. Guy got 5 years. That's the maximum probation you can get in Ohio. So he maxed her out, but it's for misdemeanor probation only. And he's going to go through the terms of probation with her, which we should file this for what you're going to need in about a month from now in Minnesota.
Terms and conditions of supervision that the court's going to, wait, just go with, I'm talking first and you don't. This is how the problems develop. All right. So you've been on supervision, but it doesn't count. The past doesn't count toward the future. That's pre-trial. The past does help me indicate I don't expect to see you again because the probation department seems to think you're not a problem. But I'm going to put you on supervision for 5 years and tell you that there's 173 days suspended in case you can't comply moving forward. I'm going to order the $750 fine plus the court costs.
You can't. The maximum sentence for obstruction is 90 days in jail. So he sentenced her to an illegal sentence. You can only have 173 days in jail. That's for a first-degree misdemeanor. So he's actually sentenced her inappropriately. So if he doesn't fix that, she could appeal that, and the Court of Appeals would say, yeah, you need to fix this. So that's an illegal sentence.
And then your ability to pay over time will affect whether it's actually collected. Because if I don't impose it today, I can't impose it later. Understand? The terms and conditions of probation will primarily involve your compliance with the law reporting requirements, and then any education or training programs they think are necessary for you to be a good citizen, which in your case may not.
Now, here's the thing, guys. This is where the attorney, normally you don't interrupt the judge, but if they fuck up, you have the right to interrupt and say, Your Honor, and you said 173 days. The maximum is 90 days. And he would say, You're right, counsel, you're correct. And they would appreciate you correcting that instead of letting it go. So I don't know why he's not doing this. But yeah, he could tell her to go get a job, go get education, go do other things. She doesn't qualify for those situations, but he could if he wanted to.
Your compliance with the law, reporting requirements, and then any education or training programs they think are necessary for you to be a good citizen, which in your case may not be a lot, but that's generally the purposes of supervision, is to help people become law-abiding people if they aren't already. So 173 days at risk, there's a $750 fine plus the court costs that have to be paid, subject to ability to pay. Understand?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do I have to go to jail?
You want to answer that or should I?
I prefer you would say, but I think no.
No, unless you act out.
Oh, okay.
173 days suspended.
Okay,
But it does demonstrate a good point. What I think I'm saying isn't what people are always hearing.
but there will be a fine. And
Yeah.
if I'm bad, I'll go to jail, but if I can stay good, I don't have to, but I do pay the fine.
Subject to your ability to pay.
Also, you guys, you may laugh at her, but when people are in this situation, it's nerve-wracking for them a lot of times. Their mind's going 100 miles an hour. Breaking it down into, if I'm bad, I go to jail. If I'm good, I don't go to jail. Like, you'd be surprised how many times, like, some of you are sitting out there like, oh, I'm smart. When you walk into a courtroom, you're going to act like the biggest fucking retard on earth. And I have to explain it that way to you. And you have to have it explained again. And like, that's just how it is. Also, I know some people are going to complain, wow, this courtroom looks ghetto as fuck. Remember, guys, this is the majority of the world. And remember, this is in Appalachia, Ohio, in the original courthouse. So it is what it is. Also, look, the judge has fancy books in the back too. But yeah, this is pretty normal, making sure she understands it.
Like, the point's not to put you in poverty. The point is to modify your behavior. If you have $30 left at the end of the month, then that should go toward the fine or the costs. At the end of the 5 years, if you can't pay it, you don't get incarcerated for being poor. It's forgiven at that point in time, but it is meant to be a punishment. Does that help you?
Yeah, I think I understand now.
Okay. Keep doing what you have been doing with regard to probation compliance.
But I still call in if I have to leave the state or something.
Or show up, whatever they say, you step and fetch it.
Okay.
Corrections or clarifications, Caroline?
Clarification, in the entry, it says 90 days is the maximum.
I did say that wrong. It's 90 is the maximum. Yeah,
And you said 170.
I did. It's 83, not 90 is the maximum. I said 180.
Yeah,
I bumped it up a letter, so 83. Thank you very much. My sentencing entry is actually back there on the desk right now, which doesn't help me here. Thank you for that.
Thank you, John.
So 97 credit, 83 suspended, $750 fine plus costs.
Yes, John.
5 years probation. Thank you for that correction. My apologies.
No problem.
Thank you. Ms. Canepa? Okay, you can check out right now if you would, Ms. Newcomb. That doesn't mean you have to leave the courtroom, just means I need that chair.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gerlach.
Thank you very much.
We'll switch to Angela's case next. And we'll need another chair. You can help us. I think we will.
Now, the other thing I'll say is, like, she's probably not the most well off. She wore a t-shirt under a sweater and a cardigan. Like, I mean, that's just, it's not like she's got a lot of money. So, yeah, she was worried about that. She's, she's probably not the most sophisticated person in the world anyway, but I've seen very smart people completely, you have to have it explained like they're 5. Anyway, now here's Angela Wagner going up, and here she goes.
No counsel with you today, Mr. Burns? Are you by yourself?
Mark Hunt is not here today.
Oh, my apologies. Okay. So this is State of Ohio versus Angela Wagner, case 156. Mr. Craig Pence is here on behalf of the defendant. Mr. Hunt's not appearing, so we don't need the extra chair. And you had an opportunity to hear the victim's statement and the state's recommendation, right, Mr. Clarence? Craig Pence, I'm sorry.
You're fine. I have, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay. And you heard it also, right?
Yeah, guys, it's sentencing. You're no longer entitled to, in Ohio and in the Sixth Circuit, you're not entitled to be all dressed out to the nines for your sentencing. You've already been convicted or pled out, so there's no longer any issue of impropriety or inference of guilt or, any of those concerns. Like you're at sentencing, it's over. You're going to prison. We're not going to dress you up just to, but you guys have seen that every once in a while. We've seen some of these places where you get that. Doesn't happen here in Ohio. Doesn't happen like that. In fact, I'm pretty sure if I said, Your Honor, my client would like to be in street clothes for his sentencing, he's going to look at me like about it. So.
You heard everything that was said before, right? I want to circle back on one thing, Mr. Craig Pence. Was there any part of the plea
Yes.
that you thought was in error or deficient or you wanted repeated?
No, at this time, nothing comes to mind.
Okay.
But
Now, I wasn't here,
Sure.
but if there was an error, we can still fix it.
appreciate that.
Did you note anything that should be emphasized, Ms. Canepa? Any problems with the plea?
No.
Okay, thanks. So it's the defendant's opportunity to make a statement. So Mr. Craig Pence gets to go first, then Ms. Wagner, you get a chance, so go right ahead.
Your Honor, thank you. First, with respect to maybe some murder issues, I suggested in my sentencing memorandum that there are two counts each that we believe should be merged for purposes of sentencing. That was on counts 16 and 18, as I recall, and I think 20 and 21. If I can read my writing here. And I won't repeat the arguments therein. I quoted the bill of particulars with the specificity of what it actually was charged, and it seems to me that they are similar imports as if they should be merged. I don't know that, I have not read a response to that, so I don't know the state's position on that. With regard to the sentence, or the plea agreement, and maybe agreement on sentencing, Ms. Wagner is very cognizant of the fact this court's not bound by anything that happened before this court took over this case. In fact, Judge Gilley also was not mandated to follow a jointly recommended sentence. He did review it. He did say he would agree with it, but that in no way binds you. And my client is very aware that this court has the authority and the responsibility for deciding independently what the appropriate sentence is. So we do not walk in this morning expecting that this court will just rubber stamp the things that have happened before. But for the following reasons, I think that the court should accept the jointly recommended resolution in this case. As this court knows, these are horrible events. I appreciate the family being here and making the statements that they did. They have shown a lot of patience and courage and repeatedly showed up for every hearing. I do appreciate that, and I know that their words do not fall on deaf ears. Your Honor, my client was involved with these actions. As far as her specific actions, she did not enter into any of these dwellings. She did not bring a gun personally. She did not torture. She did not directly cause the death of these folks. That said, she was aware of it. She took her own steps to try to assist in that plan. And that is something that she has taken responsibility for. In addition to taking responsibility, she has come into this court and she testified against her son. Now, the task was not very easy for her. It was important for her to do so, but it was also very important for the state. The state knew that the remaining cases after Jake had entered his plea were still not 100% not an absolute win, because one person saying something sometimes without corroboration isn't enough to sway a jury to prove beyond reasonable doubt. It's very important for them to have Ms. Wagner come in and testify and corroborate the testimony, the evidence, and the facts that Jake had testified to. Toward that end, after Jake had proffered, we never let Angela review the statement, the proper, and we want to keep a clean wall between the two of them, so that, such that she would not parry back what somebody else had said. And I think it proved her value to the state as a witness. And it's because of those efforts that the state entered into this agreement, which I know the state probably didn't like, but felt it was necessary, and I think that they probably made the right call. Ms. Wagner has lived up to her end. She will continue to live up to her end of the deal, which again, doesn't bind this court. I do want the court to know that she has provided me this morning with a list and some certifications of completion of some programs that she's taken while she's been incarcerated for a very lengthy time in Delaware County. And I count offhand, I'm not going to read them all, but I count probably 40 to 50 different programs that she has completed. She has.
Like, it was a collaborative effort by all the agencies, and then they were finally arrested back in Ohio, but they kind of realized the heat was on, so they came back home to Ohio, and then they got picked up all here in Ohio. But yeah, they didn't have wasn't very good for them. Yeah, it very quick, the whole thing quickly crumbled within 2 years.
Found something of a niche. She's been in one place so long, she's been entrusted to act as a trustee, but also has taken it upon herself to mentor young women who come in to the jail, and then they come out, and they come back in, and she's told me many stories about the revolving door of women that she's met and been able to help. I believe that she, for the next more than 25 years of her life, will have a purpose. I know that she is the type of person who will listen, who will help the counsel, who will try to direct younger women into the right direction, a path that she hopes that they will take. She's done as much as she can possibly do to improve herself, her situation, and to give back. She has written a statement at the appropriate time. I would ask support to allow her to read that as well. All that to say, Your Honor, I believe that the jointly recommended sentence is appropriate. I know that in the plea agreement, we had agreed to a specific sentence for each of these counts. However, as my addendum to the sentencing memorandum indicated, I don't think that we can follow that because of how the Supreme Court has interpreted the law with regard to firearms investigations. I did include, it was yesterday at some point, a suggestion of how to arrive at the same, if the court is inclined to, and do so, like what I believe would be the appropriate legal framework. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Canepa, do you agree that 18 merges into 16 and 19 merges into 20?
Into 20?
Unauthorized use of property, that's the way it was suggested by Mr. Craypens.
Yes, I would agree that there could be an argument as to 16 and 18, but not the 19 and 20.
Want to argue that further, Mr. Craypens?
No, it's nothing past the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So I looked at the bill of particulars and read the indictment. I don't have all the discovery when I read through the trial transcript. I can agree that 19 merges into 20 and 16 merges into 18 merges into 16. So I presume you would have the court sentence on the higher level felonies, Ms. Canepa. 16 is a felony 3 and 20 is a felony 4. So there'll be no sentence opposed to on 18 and 19. They merge into 16 and 20. That being said, it's your turn, Ms. Wagner, for your statement.
You're here.
All right, real quick, chat. You heard them talking about merger. Yeah, the audio is rough here at times. The Ava Blink is saying, why is the defense even having arguments right now? Didn't they all agree to this plea deal? They agreed to certain things, but some of the things they ended up saying, we're going to make our arguments to the court. When it comes to things like allied offenses of similar import, you hear this multiple times when we talk about these cases. It's the idea of merger, that you may have committed multiple crimes, but ultimately you can only be convicted and sentenced for the one crime. So in the same way, like if I commit robbery and let's say I steal from you your car, I've also committed let's say the car is over $1,000 in value. I've also committed felony theft. I've also committed unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. I've also committed grand theft in the sense it was a car itself, but the monetary value is over $1,000, automatically a felony. So there are times where the offenses merge because the robbery kind of eats it up. So that's the idea there is you have this idea of, do these offenses merge? Because otherwise I could get punished for the robbery and also the felony theft. And it's like, that's not fair. They merge together for one thing. So, yeah, that's the idea of what merger is. So, like in Ohio, there's an entire code section about this. And it's this idea of allied offenses of similar import. And it says, basically, here's the explanation. Where the conduct by the defendant can be construed to constitute two or more allied offenses of similar import, the indictment or information may contain counts for all those offenses, but the defendant may be only convicted of one. So another good example of this is in the Pike County case, you might have charged them with aggravated murder and murder, which are separate things in Ohio. Because the idea is maybe they aren't found to have done it with aggravating circumstances or premeditation, but they did kill the person. So you convict them of murder instead. Or let's say they were guilty of aggravated murder. Obviously, then they're also guilty of regular murder. And since murder is a smaller offense, and aggravated murder is the elevated offense, it gets eaten up. So that's how these things work, where you're talking about merger and those types of problems that you may face there. So I hope that makes some sense. Is it kind of like Murder 2 getting folded into Murder 1? Yeah. And it's like another good example of it. And I was trying to stick with a non-murder related thing because these guys were involved in murders. So I was trying to come up with something else. And yes, somebody was asking yes. Basically, Angela came up with the plan and convinced everybody to do it. She wanted the baby. She wanted, no, that's my grandbaby. I want like I said, this was some hillbilly bullshit over custody. The Wagners were some straight up white trash about the custody battle, and they killed this family because they lost the custody battle. Because they're complete pieces of shit. So, and Luke is bringing up a great point. Yes, the judge is not bound by plea deals. Not in Ohio. There might be some places where that happens, but in Ohio, the judge has free reign to sentence you in accordance with the statutory maximums or minimums of every offense. So if she had pled guilty to an offense that gave her a sentencing range from 1 to 99 years, doesn't exist in Ohio, but it's the example. He could give her a sentence to 1 to 99 years, even if she agreed to serve 25 years. The judge can say, I'm not doing that. I'm going to give you less time. Now, judges generally don't do that because there's a lot of incentives for them to stick to the plea bargain. And that's the idea of, if he strokes her for even more time, nobody's going to plea bargain after that. Because let's say she does that, guess what Jake does? I don't want to take a plea anymore. But also everybody in that courthouse is going to say, I don't want to plea anymore. If he sentences her for less, the prosecutor's not going to want to make pleas anymore. So there are incentives for the court to follow what everybody's agreed to. That's just how that goes. So I hope that makes some sense there, chat. I hope that makes a lot of sense to what we're dealing with. Yes, Ohio plea deal is like a gentleman's agreement. Yes. Neo Dark Matter says, who is stroking who? Well, the idea is, like, if you get 10 years in prison, the judge stroked you for 10 years. You might hear that said this way here. Yes, these people were straight cretins. So, anyways, there you go, chat. Hopefully that makes some sense.
I spent my whole life trying to be the opposite of everyone that I knew. Not too fluffy, not too worthless, not too strict, not too controlling, not divorced, not too ungrateful. The perfect daughter, wife, mother, grandmother, perfect person. Always striving for perfection, thinking that was what I wanted of me. All of this had been stuck down so far that I didn't even know who that woman was. I didn't realize I was so weak and flawed and broken that it would lead me to make rash emotional decisions. That when such a tragic event would happen within my family, I I just froze. I couldn't think. I'm not saying this for justification, Your Honor. This is why it shames me to say at that point in time, I didn't consider the consequences those actions would cause, or the depth of pain that they would bring upon the residents of others. I know their pain must be unbearable. Because separated from my family, the ones I love most in the world, brings me unbearable, suffocating pain too. And for this, I am so truly sorry. I can't undo what's happened. The regret and the remorse that I feel is my daily reminder of who I once was and who I do not ever want to be again. Thankfully today, I'm not that woman. I've committed myself to change, to growth, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, to letting God be my guidance. Each day I work on being a better me, rewiring my brokenness, living for a purpose so I can be filled with wisdom, knowing to slow down, to listen, and to ponder so I don't get carried away with any emotional decisions again. I'm not looking for perfection anymore. Now my desires and goals are for continuance of growth, for sharing the compassion and unconditional love to others that God shows me daily, and to remain this better me. God has opened my heart and my eyes. He has showed me what reality looks like. I've seen it in all the beautiful, unique women that I have met and been sharing housing units with. This world needs no more pain, so I give back any way I can, whether it is to show love, compassion, encouragement, a listening ear, a smile amidst the darkness, or just maybe by hearing my story, they will be enlightened of what real consequences made by emotional decisions looks like. My hopes and dreams are that I can make each day count for something good, to always move forward, not backward. Because all that I am today, I have to give that glory to God. It's His love, His mercy, and His grace that has changed me. Thank you.
Now, I mean, yes. Oh, I'm trying to get closer to God. Like, okay, honey. I don't. I mean, she's trying to suck ass here because she wants a better sentence. But come on now, come on, you ain't bullshitting nobody.
Have a seat.
Volume's way too low. I can't do anything about
So,
that
Mr.
green
Craig,
cap.
let me
I'm
start
sorry.
with you. Thank you. I don't think the public understands the stress on the lawyers for both sides of the case. I also don't think the public
No, you need to wait till the son speaks, and then you'll see why. Him and Nick are pen pals.
appreciates the fact that without defense lawyers, there wouldn't be a prosecution. Because in our adversarial system, as much love as the state might get, the defense lawyers seem to get the opposite. Yet you step into those shoes, and in this case, I've seen very capable lawyers working very difficult facts, often without any appreciation. So to the extent that you and Mr. Hunt did a fine job, you ought to at least be publicly acknowledged. So thank you very much for a long career.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The first part of the hearing, when the victims were speaking, was what I expected. A built up raw emotion of rancor and ill will, and all very understandable and unfortunate. If anything cathartic can come out of today, it might be the fact that there's some closure, or maybe not forgiveness, not forgetting, but the fact that the process will have worked and people can move on. Whether you choose to accept that or not is yours, as any free person can, but maybe closure helps. There was a reference to this being the worst massacre in the state of Ohio. Well, let's go with something else. To call this the Pike County massacre, frankly, is condescending to the rest of the good people of Pike County. It's tragic, it's heinous, it's unexcusable.
This judge, guys, like I said, this judge is very much everybody needs to. He's fluffing tampons up for everybody. He's saying everybody needs to wear a tampon right now.
But it's not an indictment of the entire county. That's social media typecasting. The worst massacre in Ohio might very well be 1792 with Canada Hutton, when 96 Christian pacifists were killed by the Pennsylvania militia because they were Christian pacifists. But each generation.
That is a real thing that happened here in Ohio, the Nada Hutton massacre. He calls it Ganada Hutton. But that's an actual real Ohio, guys. If you don't understand, we were the Wild West for like the Revolutionary War and prior to it. A lot of crazy shit went down in Ohio prior to like 1812.
As its own people who can prove the depths of depravity of human nature. And that's what this case did. It showed the boundless depravity of people who have no respect for others and their only self-interest in mind. And that's transgenerational. Since the dawn of man, this sort of depravity happens. So the raw emotion you communicated was expected is unfortunate, and I hope somehow you're able to get past it. Not forgetting, but getting above it. But good luck, because what I just asked isn't easy, as you well know. With regard to sentencing, however, the court's not bound by nor has any role in using emotion. The government's responsibility is not to use ill will. We don't have people being burned at the stake as in the medieval days. We don't have public shaming. We don't have a remedy that works. We have analytical guidelines the courts are supposed to follow in imposing sentence. It's not meant to be emotionally driven. So I wipe all the emotion and follow the sentencing factors. The first set of factors, whether the case is.
So that's him saying I'm sentencing based on the factors, and Ohio has sentencing factors. And the sentencing factors here in Ohio are, they're kind of vague when you look at them. So, but here they are. They're actually pretty helpful. You might look at them and say this isn't fair or easy to work with, but it does work pretty good. It does work pretty good. So there are. Why is this not working right? Hold on here. So, oh, wrong one. We're at the wrong way here. Previous. So, when you talk about this, the seriousness of the crime, you have to take care of all the things that are there. You talk about are things more serious, less serious. And this is the actual part of the statute where you look at this, the seriousness of crimes and recidivism factors. So first of all, is it more serious? And here's more serious factors. Was the physical and mental injury suffered by the victim exacerbated by the conduct or condition of the victim? The victims of the offense have suffered serious physical, psychological, or economic harm. Did you hold a public office or position of trust? Was it your occupation, office, or profession? Something you should have prevented this from happening. Like it's your job to prevent that. Did you have reputational, was that used to facilitate the offense? Like, did you, because you're a teacher or a pastor or a coach or an elected official? Your relationship, did you commit as part of an organized criminal activity, which they did, a murders like that? Were you motivated by racial or sexual orientation or religion? And then you get onto these other factors here. Does it make it less seriousness? The victim was involved or facilitated. You acted under provocation. You didn't expect to cause harm. There's grounds that mitigate the conduct, although there's not enough to be a defense. And then you have to look at, anything you could do that would make you likely to be a recidivist in the future. Like, were you on probation or some sort of supervision prior to this? Did you have a juvenile record? Did you have a prior felony record? Have you been prior to the institution? Have you shown no remorse? Do you have a pattern of drug and alcohol abuse? Were you adjudicated as a delinquent child? And then you could talk about all the things that make it less likely. You weren't adjudicated as a delinquent child. You've never been convicted of a felony or criminal offense. You've led a law-abiding life for a number of years. Under circumstances not likely to reoccur. You can make the argument, well, they're all dead, so she can't kill them again. Or you show remorse. But those are the factors. He's going to talk about those four things. Less serious, more serious, less likely, more likely.
More serious or less serious. Clearly, it's a more serious offense for all the reasons stated in the statute. Whether recidivism is likely is a second.
Now, here's the thing, guys. You might say, wait, he didn't say the factors. Under appellate law, that's good enough. I've considered, you'll see in an appellate brief or an appellate sentencing, I've considered the principles or purposes of sentencing. And they're what, Judge? And the judge doesn't write it down anywhere or state them. And you're like, but how do I know? And you know what the Court of Appeals says? Fuck it, good enough. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Now, here's what happens when the judge says, when they don't say it, you know what the Court of Appeals says still? Don't worry about it. So why does it really matter? That's just me being fucking angry about it. So, yeah. So, sorry.
A set of factors. Well, there's a long sentence coming. And I'm supposed to predict the future, which I can't do. So recidivism prediction is virtually impossible. It's backward looking. So I'm just going to find that the risk factors for recidivism are balanced equally against the less likely, because I don't know what you're going to be as a person or who you'll be after your long prison sentence, Ms. Wagner. The fact that you completed 40 or 50 programs might bode well for you, and it might not. So I'm not going to try to predict anything with regard to the future. You need to understand that there's a mutually recommended sentence. If I impose the mutually recommended sentence, then any opportunity you might have to appeal the sentence is waived or given up. Generally, when a person enters a plea of guilty, they give up any rights to appeal the verdict of guilt. So presumably you don't have appeal rights as to your plea. If I impose the sentence today as recommended, then there's no appeal rights on that issue. The only thing that might be left, dare I say it, would be ineffective assistance of counsel, and I don't have any opinion on that. So if I impose a mutually recommended sentence, your appeal.
Now, he's generally right, but he could still fuck up his obligations under sentencing. If they agreed, let's say you agreed to an illegal, and I've had this argument with the court before, I mean, you know, and I brought this up to a judge before, and I had a discussion with him once about it. I said, you know, Judge, let's say we agreed to an illegal sentence. Like, let's say we agreed to a robbery and we agreed to 15 years in prison, which is way outside 2 to 8 years, the maximum allowed. And I said, let's say you agree to it and sentenced him. Would you then still argue he can't appeal it? And the judge actually said, yes, he can. He agreed to it. And I'm like, but that's, I don't think I would agree with that. And I seriously think that the courts of appeals would say no. But yes, generally speaking, when you plea out, that's it. Whatever happened in your plea hearing, did the judge follow the rules, and did he follow the rules at sentencing? That's all that matters. That's all you can generally challenge. So, yeah, to an extent he's correct, but he's not correct as much as I think he'd like to argue he is.
Right, or waived as to the sentence. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And that's what's going to happen. I lined up the numbers differently than the lawyers recommended, but they come up to the mutually recommended 30 years. So for purposes of the record, with regards to count number 9, complicity to aggravated murder, I impose a 9-year prison sentence. On counts 10, 11, 12, and 13, I impose a 9-year prison sentence. That's aggravated burglary. For unlawful possession of dangerous ordnance, count 14, the maximum 12 months in prison. For counts 15 and 17, tampering with evidence, 3 years in prison. Count 16, tampering with evidence, 3 years in prison. No sentence on forgery, no sentence on unauthorized use because they merged. On unlawful interception of oral communication, 18 months in prison. And then for the obstructing justice in count 21, 12 months in prison. And then engaging in a pattern of corrupt activity, 9 years in prison. Mr. Crayfence is right to remind me of the recent case of Beatty. I saw that come rolling out first week of December. Maybe that was in my entry 2 weeks ago with regard to having to follow the mandates. A lot of people might think judges have unlimited reign, if you will, to impose sentence, when in fact we have pages and pages and volumes of rules and case authority on how to impose a sentence. So the Beatty case tells me that there's a mandatory duty with regard to the firearm specifications to impose the maximum 6 years consecutively to each other. So there's a firearm silencer specification that has to be imposed on count 9 and count 22. So there's 6 years plus 6 years is 12. With regard to 9 more years for the aggravated.
And that's the other thing in Ohio. Your gun specs start stacking up. And she used a silencer in the commission of a crime, so that's 6 years. Doing a drive-by is 5 years. There's actually a lot of gun specifications in Ohio. Ohio will fucking bend you over when it comes to that stuff.
Burglary charges, those run concurrently with each other, consecutive to firearm specification. So we're at 6 + 6 + 9. And then finally, on the corrupt activity charge, count 22, there's a 9-year sentence, which is consecutive to the 9. So now it's 6 + 6 + 9 + 9. Is my math right? 30 years. The other charges all run concurrently, so that felonies 3 and 4 don't add additional time. It's 30 years in prison as mutually recommended. You're entitled to 2,244 days credit over 6 years, 6 years and 6 weeks. So that comes off your sentence as a matter of law, because past time has to count. With regard to economic sanctions, there's no fine. Your inability to pay makes that impossible, not only in the past, but in the future. There's a legal obligation to pay court costs, processing, booking, pay stay, medical expenses. So all those numbers should be added up and put on your bill. Your ability to pay depends on future economic circumstances, but it's a legal obligation to impose. When you're released, you have to be on supervision with the adult parole authority for at least 2 years up to 5 years, while on post-release control. You have to follow rules, regulations, restrictions on your freedom. If you fail to comply, you can be sent back to prison for up to 50% of the longest term, so that would be 50% of one of the 9. So the 30 can turn into 34 and a half for additional violations after you're released at the end of 30 years. You have a legal obligation to register as a violent offender. There's a database. So at the time of your release, you have an obligation for at least 10 years to register as a violent offender. Tell the sheriff in the county where you reside, where you live. If you fail to comply, that can be a parole violation, post-release control violation, or a separate felony 5 offense. And the legal duty can be extended if the state establishes just cause to extend it beyond the 10 years, which doesn't start running until you're released from prison. Did I overlook anything, Ms. Napa? Mr. Crayfens?
Can I move myself to cover the clock? Sorry, no, Samuel.
Thank you. Yes. I'll hand this back to you. You can have the filing done.
So dangerous ordinance is like, using bombs or other dangerous ordinance, but in this case, they use suppressed weapons. They used homemade silencers to go kill people, and the silencer in Ohio is considered dangerous ordinance. So, just a weird way they fucking codified it.
Further evidence, Ms. Wagner, of how thorough your lawyer is. To the extent that I wasn't bound by the lawyers, I could have gone higher. I wasn't here when this started. The analysis is pretty true. The state needed you. And in fact, you came through with your part of the agreement. Does that matter? Well, morally, that's up to you. Legally, it's a big deal. In my journal entry, there's 2 cases cited that clearly explain the importance of cooperation, the benefits of mitigation. You help the state make the case. Jake helped the state make its case. That wisdom, wherever it came from, was the difference between a much worse outcome that might very well have been appropriate. I understand you didn't go to the 4 scenes. Nobody seems to talk about the fact that you're the only person that could have stopped the whole thing with 1 phone call. You're standing there with cell phones that people want you to ping and make it look like you're home. All you had to do was call in. Stop the whole thing. The depravity was that you didn't see the moral need to shut it all down. I don't need an explanation, but clearly, any decent human being could have done that little bit to save so much.
And that was her major part in it. She was part of like the support network. She got them, gassed them all up to go do this. She wanted the kid. She wanted her grandbaby. And yeah, she kind of pinged all the phones to show they were at home while they went out and did the work.
So with the fact that you accepted responsibility and cooperated, I was willing to follow the agreement. You'll see the Anderson case and the Ray Half case decided in the decision. They go back to 2017. 2017 cases. The Supreme Court made it really clear twice in the same term the importance in the system of having people accept responsibility and cooperate. So for you, that's the only silver line. That concludes that case. Ms. Wagner, they're going to walk out the side door and move you on. Thank you, Mr. Craven. It's my pleasure to meet you.
All right, thank you, my pleasure. And other than that, go ahead, I'll walk with you. That's right, just do that.
Some of you guys were wondering why, like somebody asked this earlier and I wanted to address it now. Are those throwback prison uniforms or something? Dude, every county in Ohio does different. Some places, like you're wearing the black and whites. Some counties, that's if you're in SEG. Some places, everybody else wears orange. It all depends on where you're at. That's not ODRC, the Ohio Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. That's not their uniform. So she's being housed in a local jail nearby. And Catherine says, Sean, who has custody of the child now? The Rhoden family does. The Rhoden family has custody of Sophia now. They got her back. So, yeah. Anyways, we'll keep moving on from here. All those cops are bald. Yeah. Does Ohio know about microphones? Yeah. I mean, it's a shitty setup, and they didn't probably get this set up early enough. So, yeah. Anyway, here we go. Now, see, if you see Jake, he's got his DRC inmate. He's got a different uniform. In ODRC, these are actual prison guards. So the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction, the only state that has rehabilitation in its corrections department's name.
Go ahead and have a seat. This is case 154, stated by Mr. Jake Wagner. Mr. Graves here, on behalf of the defendant, Ms. Roberts, the tire is also here. Were you able to hear the state sentencing recommendations of their statements?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you hear them also, Mr. Wagner? Did you hear the?
Yes.
Do you have any issues or corrections you wish with regard to the plea proceeding, Mr. McVeigh?
No, Your Honor.
Think of anything on this case?
No, Your Honor.
So what we'll do then is allow the defense attorneys to make their statements. You get a chance to make your statement. Choose to do so, Mr. Wagner. So that's how we'll proceed. You understand? I try to speak loudly enough, Mr. Wagner. I may not be doing that.
Oh,
You have a hearing problem?
yes.
Okay. I will try to speak louder and slower. But anytime you don't understand, do exactly what you did. Make it known.
Okay.
You can't miss this because of a hearing problem. Understand?
Yes, sir.
So thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. We'll do our best to make sure that he has full hearing and understanding, clarify anything that he may ask questions about. Your Honor, thank you for this time to speak on behalf of Mr. Wagner with regard to the sentence. I will keep my remarks relatively brief. say relatively because the nature of this case calls for certain remarks to be made. Nonetheless, we have filed a sentencing memorandum on behalf of this court that is well aware of all the proceedings with this case, the joint recommendation of sentence, the plea agreement that had been entered into, as well as the defendant's agreement that was entered into, and Mr. Wagner has complied with up to this date and would continue to comply. And my remarks will be brief, not because this is not a serious case. No one could, in the right mind, argue or anyone else that this case is not serious. And you spoke in terms of references to a master and that sort of thing. There are very few cases in the state of Ohio that are of this severity. Certainly none that I have handled, or I've handled some multiple homicides involved. And, but out of respect for family, parties, and all involved here, given that this has been litigated, it's been tried, in one instance at least, over the last 6 years, there's very little that I can say that someone hasn't already heard. What I would indicate to this court is that we did enter into, Mr. Wagner and prior counsel entered into a plea agreement, joint recommendation of sentence with the state of Ohio in this regard. That agreed joint recommendation of sentence was 8 consecutive sentences of life without parole for each of the aggravated murders involved herein. And it was also indicated that we would stipulate, agreed to waive and stipulate maximum consecutive sentences of both warranted, necessary, and appropriate in this case. I believe that probably would address the questions of merger. We know that Mr. Wagner knows that it's up to the court when it comes to sentencing. What I would indicate to the court is that he is fully aware that in entering the pleas that he did, he would be subject to a maximum possible sentence of 8 times life without parole, an additional 160 years if sentences were imposed to the maximum consecutive, and then 78 of the 160 additional years would be mandatory sentences. Again, the parties stipulated, or we stipulated, Mr. Wagner stipulated to the necessity that consecutive sentence, maximum consecutive sentences were warranted, necessary, and appropriate in this case in order to effect the agreement of the state of Ohio. Again, Mr. Wagner understood what his maximum sentence would be. He understands and understood then that it would be up to the court as to what sentencing would be. But certainly he entered his pleas knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily, knowing that he was subject to the maximum sentences as already addressed of 8 times life without parole plus an additional 160 years. He also understands with the joint recommendation of sentence, and he understood this at the time of entering his plea, that with the joint recommendation of sentence, he would not be able to appeal the sentence of the court if the joint recommendation of sentence wasn't imposed by the court. So I think he sits here before you fully knowing what those possible sentences are. He did at the time of entering the plea, and knowingly knows what the maximum would be. I believe I've addressed the issues of merger that the court wanted us to do, or asked the court, or asked us to provide additional information in that regards. Your Honor, I could stand here with myself and my colleagues in the Office of the Ohio Public Defender, having met with, dealt with, and worked with Jay Wagner over the last 6+ years. There's many things that we could say. And I could reference that my colleagues have told me, or things that I could tell you about the meetings and conversations I've had with Mr. Wagner. But I think, in all fairness and honesty to all parties involved here, that what probably speaks to Jacob Wagner more than anything is the extent and the value of his cooperation in this matter. He referenced it in the sentencing of his mother, Hanna Rhoden, that without his information, perhaps convictions would not have been obtained, pleas would not have been entered, and the state wouldn't be in the position where they are today. So again, I think that speaks to Mr. Jay Wagner as much as anything I can say on his behalf here today. Your Honor, I believe that, at least by our calculations, we have 2,244 days of jail time credit. If that calculation is correct, I believe that was from a date of arrest of November 13th, 2018. I believe it's close to, it's not completely accurate, Your Honor. I ask the court to take notice of that. last thing that I would offer is that Mr. Wagner has signed an affidavit in receipt. I'm here for,
Yeah, please.
has another item on cell phone, over to another stamp. See,
That's the proper one. That's second entry, just sign one.
we drive up to the board.
Your choice.
Guys, it's natural
I can do
hair.
a margin though, if you're satisfied with that.
That'd be satisfying, yes, Your Honor.
That's
Other
the-
than-
There you are. Back to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's all you have, Mr. McVeigh?
John, I would just conclude by saying that, again, we did make a jointly recommended sentence. Mr. Wagner understands what his duties and responsibilities and promises have been in this plea agreement, in the defense agreement. I believe that Mr. Wagner is man. Thank you.
Ms. Roberts, care to add anything?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
With regard to the merger, Mr. Same argument, same discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I suppose we should say.
Yeah, same conclusion. So I think the merger is the same in this case.
Real quick, Stacy, all the children that were in the house has survived. Down below in the description, everybody who got murdered was an adult. There were children there. One of them was a 6-year-old. One of them was a 4-year-old. One of them was a couple day old. So there were children in the homes that were not murdered. Everybody who got clipped was 16 or older. So everybody was like 16 or older who got clipped. So just so we're clear there. Kimbo says there should be an age limit to lawyers. The OPD, this guy's actually a pretty good OPD attorney. I've seen him before, like in real life. He's actually pretty good. So
Well, Angela's academic as might be, it's nonetheless essential to get it right. Your turn, Mr. Wagner, anything you want to say?
okay, chat, strap yourselves in. You thought Sarah Boone was good. This is gonna be better.
Actually, Your Honor, I have a lot I want to say. But it's, all right.
Pull the mic, or just pull the mic closer if you would. Try to keep your voice projected.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No, I have a lot I want to say, but if it's okay with you, instead of looking at you, I would like to look at the victims. They are who I really want to
You're
see.
entitled to do that.
You don't do that?
You can.
Why can't I?
You're entitled.
So he wants to turn around and address the victims, and I'm like, a lot of places the court's like, no, you're right here. You look at me, not them. So this is a little different. This is a little different.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah, so whatever's comfortable. You can stand if you want, you can face them, you can face me. Just make sure no disrespect happens.
No disrespect. No.
Go ahead.
So, everyone, enough, all of you, obviously. But I've had friendship or relationships with life, many of you. And I know full well that the weight of my crimes, what I've done to you and your family. There's no amount of apology I can give today, no amount of explanation, no thing I can do to help you reduce the pain you have, loss, anger, hate. Nothing can save that. But I'm not going to tell you, oh, this, and that. I'm going to tell you about me. Because, yeah, I used to be a manipulator. Ms. Gilley affirmed that, and I truly was. But after I committed this crime, I was still guilty. Ms. Gilley, I'm going to look at you because I feel you have the most hate. And this is for you. So whenever I committed those crimes, it was probably 2 or 3 weeks later, I was weighted down with the guilt I did. And I said the most sincere prayer that day I ever said to that day. And I asked God. I didn't like what I did. Didn't like how I was living. Didn't like how the possibility my daughter or even my nephew would grow up to be. And I asked God. I said, put me and my family back on the straight and narrow path by any means necessary. Any. And I can tell you today, I am not sorry I got caught. I'm sorry for what I've done. I am glad I got caught. I 100% believe that it was Jesus who made me get caught, to answer my prayer, so he could become exactly who he's supposed to be for each of us.
Lord, Savior. Because, Gilley, now I don't show much emotion. Not in me. But quiet hour night, you've seen God, I do. I don't show much here. I'm trying to break it up a little bit, but that's just me. I can tell you from my own experience, hate will not heal your heart. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't. But I ask you, if you are a woman of at least some kind of faith, you should really read the Bible, because hate won't do it. Hate won't condemn yourself.
Guys, like I said, this sounds like fucking Nick, doesn't it? Talking about manipulation. Here's a manipulation tactic, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, listen to this guy. You know, y'all should hate me. Y'all should read the Bible. You should forgive me because I said so.
But I want you to know, what I want to tell all of you, is how I was, how I believed, how I truly thought I was going to die and go to heaven prior to being arrested. And how I learned in my own time, alone with Jesus, just him and his word. I set aside every human teaching I was ever taught, even John 3:16. I read the word for myself. John 3:16 don't save you. The Bible don't save you. Only a relationship with Jesus Christ will save you. And he did not promise one place in his word. I don't know how many of you have ever read the Bible. He's never promised he would save you from hell. He promised that he came here to save you from sin, to unleash you from the captivity of sin. We're all weak. We all fall short of the glory of God. I knew that, and I was one of those people who believed, okay, sure, I'm a sinner, I'll sin every day. It's not like, why should I try? Ask forgiveness when I eat, go to sleep, and I'll be good. I wasn't good. That's not what Jesus preaches. Jesus says specifically, you come to me, all your burdens, all your sorrows, all your pain, and you surrender, and he will heal you. You know, some of you might know the verse where he says you must become like a little child, or you by no means enter the kingdom of God. You must repent, or you by no means enter the kingdom of God. Repentance is what I thought prior to actually sitting down and reading the Bible myself. It's not asking for forgiveness. That comes from repentance. Repentance is to choose to look at what you've done, hate it, and forsake it. Forsake sin. Nobody can say that they are a God-fearing Christian, born again, and think sin is nothing. At least those things, lying. Lying is just as much an abomination as any other thing. I commit murder. I commit every single sin that the Bible lists. Blasphemy, denying Christ, like Peter did. No, never actually said it. But I have been silenced. And I heard someone else say it. It's just as much sin. Me? I'll tell you exactly how God changed me. And I know it's taking a little bit extra time, but I feel the judge will allow this.
I mean, just fucking listen to this guy. Fucking listen to this guy. You know, only when you destigmatize the bedroom will you truly be free. Ladies and gentlemen, the baldos are always there for you to strap on. You can always turn to it.
It took me about 2 months after I was arrested. And I read that Bible twice, cover to cover. And I did not like what I found. Not the fact that it doesn't give you salvation. The fact I realized I did not have it. I realized I did not have repentance and never did. Yeah, I believe it was superficial. My superficial faith had no power to change, no power to save, no power to have godly works in my life. Not one bit. But I was deceived, and every time I read it prior to that, I kept deceiving myself. Well, John 3:16, I'm good. No. You got to read John through 14, 13, all the way to 21. He tells Nicodemus about repentance. He doesn't say the word, but he tells it. Men don't want to repent if they don't want to come out of darkness. So their deeds will be brought into light and be reproved. That's repentance. You know what we ask Jesus to do? Save us. Change us. Because we're sinners. He does not call us into a life of sin and just save us from that. No, he calls us into a relationship so that he can transform our life. So we will be adequate ambassadors of Christ on earth in his love and his forgiveness. Whenever I've seen this Gilley that. So when all of you guys can probably have the same feeling that she does. She said that, no, I wasn't crying on my eyes. My heart was breaking for her. Just as it breaks for all of you. Because you may be in the darkness that I was in. The hate is the darkness. And I can tell you, not in spite. But I'm not miserable. I don't live in misery. I've experienced your loss, experienced your pain, just as my mom mentioned, because I believe that God done this to me, so he could help me have the compassion and empathy to feel what you guys have felt. Shoot, he's taken my daughter from me, my nephew, those two more precious people in my life. And he's done that, I believe, so that I would know how he feels about all his lost children. And that's what I do. I don't need to tell you about how good I am or this and that or what things I do. It's not important. I tell you this only because I care for each of you, each of your pain, each of your loss and your sorrow. Because, kind of like what they mentioned before, the judgment, it's not about forgetting. Past is in the past. Strive for the future. But I can tell you this, I don't forget what I've done prior to my born again moment. And I would describe it to you, but there's really no sense in doing it here. Whenever I was born again, I stopped forgetting. I didn't try to forget. I told my testimony to everybody I come across. I told it to them so that they may know that sin's not okay. Crying is not okay. It does hurt more than just us. For it's everyone around us. Everyone we've known, we don't even realize we're hurting. And there's a consequence to that. And I'm fully aware of my plea. I'm fully aware of the mercy that I've already received. And I am completely willing and ready to pay my consequence for my crimes here. But I want you to know that I have joy and peace and love in my life every day. It doesn't mean I don't suffer the loneliness or pain every now and then. It comes. And when it comes strongly. But I trust in God, because he gives me comfort every time it does. And what he does for me, he can do for you. And I'm not trying to make myself look big and think big shot on the news and all that stuff. Because I know everybody, but many people are going to criticize what I say today. And don't get me wrong. Now you can see I did not write this down. Because for the past 3.5 years, I have been thinking about what to say, how I can help you, not just by myself, or fix it, or anything for myself. The right word is how I can help you, each and every one of you, even my daughter, wherever she is.
See, Chad, he did this to help you. He murdered those 8 people to help you. He's helped me help you by murdering that whole family. You know, we needed him to tell us why doing what he did was a bad thing and why it was shunning God's teachings and would not make us one of his children. I'm so glad he did it because I didn't know you couldn't do this. I didn't know you couldn't do this. Thank you very much, Jake. You saved my soul.
Everyone else who I've hurt, I want you to know the love and forgiveness that Christ has for you, so that he can bring good, as he promises, out of this terrible situation to help those who still have the opportunity to help. And I'm going to tell you one example of that.
Mr. Wagner, start wrapping it up, will you?
That's 3 minutes.
All right.
One thing, and I want to tell you, Sheriff, not all the details. If I came in contact with another inmate, this is after my plea. And he told me, because I told him, I'm confidential, Mike, not necessarily how a Catholic priest does it, but what you confess to me, I'm not going to tell no one else. And he told me that he was going through a similar situation I was. How he was planning as soon as he got out. He was going to go kill his baby.
Stop. Wait. Okay, go ahead. 2 minutes.
Well, I was able to spend time with him a lot. And I was able to share with him about my consequences and the pain I caused so many people. And I was able to lead him to making a choice for Jesus and not to commit to doing what he said he was going to do. And you know, so many people out there who are going through so many things that you've gone through, sometimes even worse than what you've gone through. And I've read of so many testimonies how they have brought God's glory through the evil that has happened, both on my side, the offender, and even on the offended side, showing his forgiveness. And I tell you, forgiveness is a powerful thing. You know, so much the hardest heart you'll ever see. And I do that every day with my testimony, my fellow inmates, my brothers. I love them. I shout out to them. And I don't care how much I get persecuted, being called a snitch, being called everything under the sun. And it's odd because they don't criticize me.
Well, you are a snitch. You did snitch out your brother, and you're going to be snitching out your dad. Just saying.
for what I did, for the crime. They criticized me for taking the plea. They criticized me for standing up here and doing this, what I did for my brother. All of that.
Mr. Wagner, wrap it up, will you please?
My last sentence. I'm sorry. I just want you to know, Jesus has a cost. Obedience, repentance, and total commitment. And when you do that, as I've done, if you've all done it, I don't know, it will transform your life. I hope you all have been touched by that, and at least somewhat plant a seed that your hearts may be healed, at least somewhat. I do pray for you all. That's all I got to say.
Have a seat. Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
Thus ends the Ricada Bible study session of this court hearing.
Nothing further than the defense. Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Wagner, that allocution, that statement further demonstrates the role the court does not serve.
I know.
Everything you just said is perfectly appropriate. It's been heard many times before, as has the victim. But to the extent that there's a religious overtone, I don't factor in religious values. It's the same standard, the legal prescriptions, the laws of the government that I impose. I heard remorse. I heard your understanding and your explanation for it. But to the extent that you might, somebody might take that as preaching, that's fine, except it has no meaning to me, except for remorse. If it was more than that, Mr. McVeigh helped me understand, but it just demonstrates that the same ill will and rancor that came to the victims, understandably, is now your faith experience on your side, neither of which is the role of the judge, the duty of the law. So it highlights what goes on in courtrooms on a regular basis.
Your Honor, what I might add to that, perhaps by way of further explanation, is that I believe from my conversations with my colleagues with Mr. Wagner, that the statement he made there was he wanted to speak to the victim's family, and rightfully so. But I don't believe it was in any way intended to sway the opinion of this court when it comes to sentencing.
We said the same thing different ways.
We did.
I can't accept that.
We did.
For benefit of the record, a lot of the victims in the gallery walked out along the way as they're allowed to. So they don't have to hear what you choose to say. It's how it works.
Yes, Your Honor.
Like this day is more intense than many, but it's all too familiar on the criminal court documents.
Yes, Your Honor.
With regard to sentencing, Mr. Wagner, the court has the same analysis. Severity factors, well, obviously, clearly, there's more serious factors. There are no less serious factors. With regard to whether you're likely to be a repeat offender or not, I'm not going to have a crystal ball to project where you are after a long prison sentence. So I'll just find that the recidivism factors balance out. It's unpredictable, but I did the analysis and thought about it. With regard to the penalties imposed, count 1, aggravated murder, life in prison. Count 2, aggravated murder, life in prison. Count 3, aggravated murder, life in prison. Count 4, aggravated murder, life in prison. Count 5, aggravated murder, life in prison. Count 6, aggravated murder, life in prison. Count 7, aggravated murder, life in prison. Count 8, aggravated murder, life in prison. Count 9, conspiracy to commit aggravated murder, maximum 11 years out of Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. Counts 10, 11, 12, 13, aggravated burglary, maximum terms of 11 years in prison. Count 14, possession of a dangerous ordinance, 3 years in prison. Counts 15 and 17, tampering with evidence, 3 years in prison. Counts 16 is tampering with evidence, 3 years in prison. Count 18 merges, so there's no sentence on 18. Count 19 merges, so there's no sentence on 19. Count 20, unlawful interception, 18 months in prison. Count 21, obstructing justice, 12 months in prison. Count 22, engaging in a pattern of corrupt activity, the maximum of 11 years in prison. And then count 23, unlawful sexual conduct with a minor, a 4th degree felony, it does have more than 4 years of age difference. In that case, 18 months in prison, the maximum sentence. With regard to firearm specifications, the court's duty bound under the recent Beatty case to impose mandatory 6 years on the first firearm spec taken from count 1 and 6 years on the firearm specification found in count 2. You're entitled to 2,244 days jail time credit up through including today. You're required to register as a violent offender. You also have sex offender registration requirements. The sex offender registration requirements apply upon any release from prison, which would be for a period of 25 years, registering at least every 6 months with the sheriff in the county where you reside. If you change your address, take a new employment, then you have to change your registration anytime you change the variable. The violent offender database, as you heard earlier, is a 10-year registration, which can be extended. And you fail to comply with the sex offender registration or the violent offender registration, that can be a violation of the terms of release or a separate felony at the time. The Chief Justice appoints retired assigned judges to work on cases where there's conflicts or problems. I take that very seriously. It's a privilege after retirement to be granted the opportunity to come back and continue to help my colleagues. That's why I get out of bed every day. There's a need, there's a problem, maybe a skill to apply to resolve the need and the problem. That's how I got here. We talked about this with your dad months ago. I got two problems when I walked into this case. I'll explain the two problems. The first problem was a recommendation on your case that was the same as it was on your brother's, life without parole, which is what he got, right? How did he get there? He went to trial. He had 10 weeks of trial, and he had thousands of dollars and dozens of witnesses and emotional energy and staff energy, people energy, resources energy to get him to his conviction. Yet the recommendation here is the same, giving you no credit for all the cooperation that you gave. As Mr. McKinney said, you don't have corroboration of a cooperative witness, you may not have any case. So I have to resolve the first problem is how is it that I'm supposed to treat you the same when in fact you didn't act the same? That's the first problem. The second problem is how do I resolve the good deal that your mom got? 30 years is a really long time. That's a really good deal for the level of the conduct, especially since she could have stopped the whole thing dead in its tracks before it ever happened. And I don't let her off the hook because she didn't go to the scene. I put her equally responsible because the eyes of the law put her equally responsible. So my second problem is how do I resolve what looks to me like some sort of gender violence? And here's how I resolve it. I give you the opportunity of parole after 20 years on your prison sentence. So you do 6 on the gun spec, you do 6 on the gun spec, you do life on all the other counts, everything concurrent, with the opportunity to parole at 20 years. So 32 years out, you get your chance because you cooperated, because you did something to acknowledge the responsibility for the crime. That's not a feel, that's as close as I can come to solving the problem that's handed to me by these ancient plea agreements. If everybody wants the last judge's sentencing deal, they should have sentenced him under the last judge. Everybody knew Judge Deering was gone right after the last trial, but nobody rushed it in to get it. And when I show up, I solve the problems the way I'm supposed to. So do you get your chance to talk to the parole board 32 years from now? And then they do their job, whatever it might be. So I'm not going to sign off on a deal where you get the same for cooperating as your brother does for going to trial. There's the explanation. Court costs, processing, booking, paid state medical expenses, have to pay the legal obligation. There's no victim restitution because they have civil remedies available. So you can go ahead and be excused. We're going to register you under both those registries. And we're going to take a break. So we're going to go off the record. Thank you to the lawyers.
All right, chat. So yes, Ohio has all these fucking registries now. We have a sex offender registry, an arson registry, a violent offender registry. We have all kinds of registries. We have registries for registries. But yes, Jake was convicted. He pled out to unlawful sexual contact for the minor, which is a registration offense. So he's a chomo, and that's because he had sex with Hanna Rhoden when she was 15 and he was 20, and the statute of limitations covers that. There's a statute of limitations that comes out because she turns 18 and then the clock started ticking. Well, at that point, the clock was still ticking and they charged him within the time frame. So he has to serve life. So he gets out in 2352 or so. No, it's not all stacked up like that. He gets, you mean in 20, 30 years from now, so it'll be 2057, yes. But remember, he also gets 6 years taken off that time frame. Gets credit for 6 years. 6.7 years is what he's been serving so far. So what did they get sentenced to? Angela has 30 years in prison. Jake got life, which means he's probably going to get parole or be eligible for parole in about 30 or so years. Remember, he's got to serve the gun specification first. Typically, though, when you get a life sentence in Ohio, you're usually eligible for parole at about 20 years in. But nobody usually gets that on their first go around. Most people don't get parole right away. And when you commit murder, that's what you get is parole. It's not post-release control. And I didn't hear the judge give him an admonishment about parole or post-release control, which could be an issue if you ever wanted to appeal it. That would just mean he has to get resentenced. And when you fill out the the sex offender registration, they're supposed to read the whole form off, but they did it beforehand. I still think that's an issue too, because the judge is supposed to sit there and read through all the terms and conditions of it. He didn't get that, but it's because he's doing life. I guess that's why the judge isn't doing it. Still, he probably had to do that. They want to appeal it. So there you go. He's done, Ski. He's done. So some of you guys are wondering, why are his cuffs like that, where they're this way? That's meant to make it so it's easier to control you and restrain you. Because when your cuffs are like this, there's concerns you can be more combative. You're not as easy to control. When your cuffs are like this, it's hard for you to do anything because his cuffs are locked in a box. That's an additional layer of security and control. It also prevents him trying to pick him or cause problems. So that's why they did it the way they did it there. If that makes any sense to you guys. I know some of you were asking that question, so that's why we're addressing that the way it all happened there. So that is why he is currently being dealt with like that. I know some of you guys had that issue there. So that's what they got sentenced to. Basically life and then 30 years. So kind of rough in that regard. So that's setting the stage for Billy Wagner. Remember, Dad's going to trial sometime in March, it sounds like, but we're not even sure. We're not even sure because this judge is there's a motion to recuse him. So we'll find out. We will find out. Registries are criminal. Well, yeah. CG says, I have a trial I want to cover. My wife's former boss got caught stealing $200K in gold from a client. Can I email you for help covering it? Yeah, if it's something out there, sure. We can take a look at it. If it's reported or being televised, sure. That'd be a fun one, not a murder-related one for once. That'd be a good one. Saturn Murr says, thank goodness Ohio has that in place. Yeah, well, we don't have the Romeo and Juliet shit really either, for the most part. So he's eligible for parole after 32 years. Yeah, and he has to serve 6 mandatory. He'll never get parole. You'd be surprised. People sometimes get parole, but yeah, probably not. Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. Let me see here. What else? Was this trial live stream? Remember, these guys didn't go to trial. They pled out, so there was no trial. The brother, George Wagner IV, he did go to trial in 2022. Like, as I was starting this channel, he had gone to trial, so I didn't cover it. We will probably go back and cover that trial. I'm going to have to listen to see how good it is. So, So Ohio do half for good behavior. Ah! No. No. No, 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 no. We don't have none of that shit. We don't have none of that stuff. Sorry. That's kind of the problem there. So, I mean, and every once in a while, you'll get calls from people or emails saying like, "Hey, you're my my husband's in prison. Is it true?" And you'll hear guys in jails. They're like, "Yeah, there's this thing where if you serve 8 months, it counts 12 months." Like, no, it never happens. Never happens. We don't have that shit here in Ohio. We don't have that. You can earn up to 8% off your sentence through good time earned time credit. You can earn a couple more percent off your thing, but no more than 15% total off your total sentence. So you don't get that. Now, that said, though, if you have time left, ODRC can cut you loose and put you on probate or parole right away and you're done. So, or PRC right away and you're done. But no, there is none of this. We don't do none of this shit where, like, no, a year is a year in Ohio. So, yeah. All right, chat. And then Deanna asked something here, and I need to bring it up. Apparently, chat, Aaron has canceled Naked Twister going forward. I'm not sure why. Apparently, it's very popular, but Aaron just for some reason didn't like doing it. So, chat, there is no more Naked Twister at Stoney's, home of the $2 cans, at 1580 East Broadway Street in Rockville, Minnesota. No more Naked Twister. Aaron, for some reason, included Gay Twister, and I didn't include that. Aaron, you're the one. Hold on. Me, brother. You're the one who included the gay part. I just said Naked Twister. So that one's on you. Not me. But apparently, Naked Twister is being discontinued. I guess it was a limited time thing. It's kind of like one of those pop-up stores where they do like pop-up art boutiques. It was a limited time. And, don't it always seem to go? You don't know what you got till it's gone, chat. And, hopefully some of you out there were able to take advantage of it. And if you snoozed, well, you lost. And I think in a way we all lost as a society without having Naked Twister. But that's okay. Robert Lawrence says, do you see the story of the guy suing CNN for defamation? I saw that, but I don't know anything about it. I hadn't heard about it before. I'll take a look at it. So no, he does not get life without parole. He is a pedophile too. Yes. J-Rock says, suck it, Sean. You don't get the factors. Well, and you know what? It doesn't matter because the Court of Appeals will say it doesn't fucking matter anyway. So who cares? What the fuck? Augusto Pinochet says, do they put the sirens on the record? No, there's no wee woo, wee woo, wee woo in like all caps. No, they don't do that. Nick Kreuzer is saying, after a member for 9 months, get thee hence, Satan. Yes. All right, we need to get back up to the top. John Thompson's been a member for 4 months. He says, your second is up. Well, thank you for your support anyway. Dolly says, member for 10 months. Says, thank you for the support, by the way. He's saying, I'd mock you, but I accidentally ended the stream today. Well, there you go. And Squizgar says, what happened? Pillstream 2, The Revenge of the Third Titty. I kind of looked around a little bit through Discord. Holy shit, that looks interesting. So, yeah. Lake Life AA says Nick did it. Well, yeah. Squizgar says that Richard Allen did it, obviously. Well, Tracy Fagan says, why does it look like he has a bullseye on him? I don't know. And Luke says the victim's lawyer being involved is so weird in this case. Not really. They have a right to have a lawyer involved. Like I said, I've done it like once or twice. It's a little weird, but it happens. It happens. The judge had an eerily calm voice. Yes. Jim Turner says, this guy knows nothing about Minnesota law. He's never done coke and is a nerd. Nobody should be listening to him. That's correct. You shouldn't be listening to me. And Charlie says, for $5 dues, you're here watching trials, and today we nearly lost the king of the sector. He's scared off being off camera for that long. Shame on you. Pay respects to the Ralph Mail. I did hear that part. Basically, he went off camera for like 30 minutes. Like, that did sound kind of scary. Like, he passed out and died. So I'm glad he's not dead. Bunker Fox says, do you think anybody reads those books? We covered that, but yes, nobody reads those books. The books are not really there for reading anymore. Nico says, congrats on your new ad campaign, Sean. Just saw the Sean P. Martin Law Office ad on the very popular Steel Toe Morning Show segment. Aaron did not swallow Nick's seed. Chi. I didn't see all of it, but did Aaron pump the firm? SeanPMartinLaw.com. If you have legal issues in the state of Ohio, great. Jim Tutter says Marysville is for women only. There's also another facility in Dayton, but yes, Marysville is the Ohio Women's Reformatory, the ORW, the Ohio Reformatory for Women. It's the there's only 2 women facilities in Ohio, and you all go to Marysville to start, or as I've heard it referred to as the lesbian farm. So, and if you guys have ever seen, go watch the one year they did Lockdown on MSNBC, the Lockdown series. Or Nat Geo. They did it in Ohio. The Marysville episode is fucking creepy. They have like these little lesbian families. It's weird. You have like a mommy and a daddy, and just weird. Kimbo says, so I can commit manslaughter and only get 5 years probation? Yep. Greencap says 5 years probation is ridiculous for a 90-day misdemeanor. It should have been 1 year. He could have given her 3 months if he really wanted to, but it's a sentencing guideline. He can do it. It's within the sentencing. Dark Lotus says all the defendants were engaged in killing of all the victims. No, the men went and did the killings. She stayed at home and like ran all the phones and basically lied and helped plan it all. But she gassed them up, but she didn't go kill anybody. Paul Merritt says, I don't know why criminals go to Alaska. New faces stick out like a sore thumb. Well, they're not the brightest people in the world, so that's why they went there. Augusto Pinochet says, bloody place, Ohio. It is. It's Ohio, the blood fucking... There's a lot of blood-stained ground in this state. A lot of blood-stained ground. Bunker Fox says, dang, Ohio's fucked up. Yeah, man, it is. There is a famous battle that secured the western frontier of Ohio, and we slaughtered the Indians, and we built a fucking mall on top of it. That's how hardcore we are here. The Eva Blink says, I'll be listening while passing out. Love the stream. Just hope Chat can remember to tap that like button like a thruple pleading. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. I appreciate the support. And Stacy says 15 years is too much for a robbery? In Ohio, it is. A simple robbery is 2 to 8 years, and an aggravated robbery is 3 to 11 years. That's it. So 15 years would be an illegal sentence. Yep. Muriel is saying, in the case you described, agreeing to that sentence would be grounds for ineffective assistance since the attorney agreed to it. I would argue it would be ineffective assistance, but remember, we talked about it before. Courts have determined a lot of things are not ineffective assistance of counsel, so we don't really know what would happen. Squizgar says, I don't envy this guy having to defend monsters. I mean, I'd have defended him. I mean, it's all in the game, yo. It's all in the game. You know, I'm not joking when I say I have no problem defending people. You do what you can to help them out. It's not for everybody, though. It's not for everybody. Yes, the one baby that was in between Hannah Giles and the other Rhoden boy, the baby was covered in blood from the murders. They thought the baby was dead too. Yep. Couple-day-old baby, and they thought she was dead. Just covered in her parents' blood. Shredder says everybody walking out says they're atheists. And the biz ed says, chat, you're the real problem. You're the real problem. Jesus isn't coming back. Vawa says if he's getting life and he knows he's going to hell, why is he still talking? Because he's a narcissist and he is going to hell. And Bamalaw, good to see you, man. Good to see you for being here. Thanks for stopping by. Guys, check out Bamalaw here on YouTube. Let's see here. Where is not the University of Alabama School of Law chat, but Bama Law here. They are. Let me see if I can. Where is this not pulling up? Come on now. There we go. There we go. And if you guys want to see Bama Law, they're covering a lot of stuff out there, how the law system works in Alabama. And if you guys want to see, it's at Bama_law. Here you go. Check them out. Covered some different things that are out there. A couple different things out there. So, police interrogations, Ted Bundy, how law works in Alabama. All different kinds of these guys. Give them a look. Take a look what's going on out there. So, just showing there's a difference between the law school law and the real world law. And I think that's true. There's what the law says, and then there's what the law actually is. So, something to check out, something to think about if you guys are interested. Sandy says, God done this to me. Yes. God made him kill those people. And TV's Will Heron. Hey, how you doing? Will is good to see you, by the way. Saying, Aaron told me not to lick Nick off of an April, but he might have. Oh, well, here's the thing. Who knows what all those people really did? But Nick is, I'll just say like this, man. When he is so, okay, yes, great. Aaron may have eat your cum. You still did a lot of fucked up shit, Nick. Like, that's not a win for you. That's not a win for you. I don't understand it. But okay. So. Yes, LA is burning again. Yes. Pacific Palisades is on fire. Did I watch part 2 of the Bald a Lot thing? Yes, I did. Aaron said he didn't, but he might have did. Well, I'm sure when you're all coked out, you probably don't even know what you're doing. So it easily could have happened that way. Who really knows? Who really knows at this point? So you just don't know anymore. I said that so casually. It is, whatever. Yes, Nick has a crippling Copenhagen addiction. He's the mayor of Copenhagen, chat. Can tell you that you don't forget when you're coked up. Well, maybe. Nick the Croiser says, I felt it out of the lore. That Sharp Peter video was funny. Yes, it was. He did a great job with that. He did a very good job. If you guys haven't seen it, Alyssa's got it up on her thing there. The Revenge of Sir Bald a Lot. I thought it was very well done. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Like I said, when I reviewed it, reacted to it last night on Locals, there's so many clips of me and Ralph that don't require any editing. You just insert them in, and that gives me concerned. Like, that's probably not a good thing if I'm just have ready to use lines like that. But yeah. Do Minnesota farmers share seeds? Oh, no. Kelby says, please, there are ladies in the chat. Oh, it's a simulation, Sean. Yes. Skook is, Aaron predicted this was going to happen, by the way. Skook has been a member for 9 months. Says, do you know what Aaron actually did do? He won the opportunity to make, he won Twister at Stoney's for the 5th week in a row tonight. Well, Aaron, remember, guys, tonight was the last night. It's over. I think Aaron canceled it, so he did one more kind of like dance for everybody, one more performance. But yeah, tonight was it, chat. So sorry to hear that. Apparently, he's not autographing any more Twister packs as well. So if you have one out there, you've got a collector's item. Hold on to that; it will increase in value. Yeah. So sorry to hear it, guys. Sorry to hear it. Oh, no, we didn't get Marcel. It's just the sidewalk getting lit up. Yep, he retired as a champ. They hung Stoney's. Cheeto took Aaron's jersey and hung it up on the rafters. Aaron's jersey got put up there, chat. You know, with the in the Twister realm. So Aaron's jersey got hung in the rafters, chat. No more. No more. Oh, it's probably too cold. They do that on the patio. It's all about, so you just keep the moving. The blood stays flowing, man. You get warm. You stay warm. So he has a jersey for a naked Twister. That's how serious Aaron was about it. He had a jersey and everything, even a mouth guard. Yes, Aaron was all serious about it, chat. He was serious. But the shrinkage, well, I mean, that's, you keep moving and the blood stays flowing. They hung up his spinner. Yeah, Derek Rose's jersey got retired, and then Aaron. What a week. Yeah. Was it a ring-shaped jersey? No, Pinochet. What they did with the rings, though, you could put, they have Stoney's doing a thing now in the front of the sidewalk. You could put your handprints down like a walk of fame. So Aaron's is like his handprints, and then he took the twister. He's going to take the twister spinner, and he's going to press that down into the mud. And it's going to leave a little twister impression on the walk of fame that's going to be going up there in front of Stoney's. I feel so bad. Like Stoney, like Cheeto's going to be like, oh God, I got to do what now? I'm having a walk of fame and Aaron's on it? Fuck. Guys, there really is no walk of fame at Stoney's, and there really is no naked twister at Stoney's. God, I feel like I have to say that at this point. I think I mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. Yes, the number 4 has been retired in Stoney Stadium on the beautiful new patio. He's got a bronze spinner. Yes. So the walk of fame is actually in the bathroom at Stoney's. Oh, so funny. So funny. All right, chat. Well, that is it for tonight. We are going to get through, probably in the days coming up, we're going to do Billy Wagner's hearing and information where the judge, long story short, he was facing the death penalty, and the judge said, nope, not anymore. Dismissed. So we'll be covering that coming up. Tomorrow night, we are going to do members only. Thursday night, we got the live show. Friday night, Patrick Tomlinson. That's right, all of you out there, if you're on the farms. We are going to cover Patrick Tomlinson. There have been updates in his case suing the big bulls, the big black bulls in the Milwaukee Police Department for forcibly manhandling him. Oh, yeah. We're going to be going over that lawsuit. There's a big updates in it. We are going to get ready for that. And that is Friday night. We're going to save that for Friday night. Also, are you getting extra snow on Friday? Can we get a soda stream? So I don't think I'm going to get any snow on Friday. And where the fuck is my phone? I don't. Yeah, I don't know where my phone's at. Chat. So, nope. Don't know where my phone's at. So. Oh, okay. Phone's in the bedroom. Thank you, sweetheart. Please pan the camera so we can scan the room for Joy Taylor. Have I seen Dolly's stream today? Seth Kenny is suing Detective Duck Lips. That's not going to go anywhere. So that's interesting, though. I did not know that. Shinzo saying, new here, what time will the members only be? We're probably going to start that around 8:30, 9 o'clock tomorrow night. We're just going to hang out probably for probably 2 hours. You know, like if there's a body cam or something funny to watch, if there happens to be like a police chase in LA, we'll do that. Or if there's just other funny, goofy shit out there, we'll take a look at it. So that's kind of what we do in the members only stream, because we do too much serious shit here. I mean, like, this stuff is serious. It's brutal, but we also need to have a laugh once in a while. So that's the plan. Yeah, you guys are talking about the snow in Ohio. It's going to be like way down south, down where like these guys live. They're going to get snowed out, but it doesn't take much snow in southern Ohio. Man, they have hills where it's like snows 2 inches and you can't get up a road. So, and Bunker Fox says 4:25 a.m. here, time for bed. Well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Have a nice night over in the British Isles or that time zone. Isn't Duck Lips Russell Greer? No, he's Shit Lips. Duck Lips is that detective in the Alec Baldwin trial. She had like really big, like injected lips. She looked like an idiot. So, oh, Seth Kenny's pro se. Ooh, maybe I'll take a look at it then, too. Detective Duck Lips was a detective in the Alec Baldwin trial. Yeah. Fire map not looking good for the James Woods property. Well, I mean, nothing looks good out there. So, sounds awesome. Expecting snow in DFW. So, but I'm from the mountains. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm sure they're gonna they're gonna get crippled by 2 inches of snow. And Nick Kreuzer gifted 5 subs. More H1B green visas here, chat. H1 green visas coming in here. Taking your jobs, Grace. Taking your jobs. Get the fuck out of this. You got no work for you here. There's nowhere for you to go. Keep moving. If we can't pray you away, we'll take your job away. So that's the plan. Newman says, how's Clyde? Clyde was kind of a bad dog today. He peed on he came up to the corner of our bed and peed on it. And my the quilt was kind of like down low enough. He got pee on the quilt. So kind of like he's kind of a bad dog today. I'm a little upset about that. Don't know why he did it. So Clyde was not a good boy today. Yeah, very rude. Very rude. Katz is a 33 in Northwest Florida. Jeez, it's about that here too. Base Clyde claiming what's his. Yeah, well, I took care of it, so it's not his anymore. Clyde found the corner demon. You guys have a freeze warning tonight. That's no good. Clyde's establishing his dominance. I'll go out there and establish dominance on him in a half a second. So he can't do anything about it. Why didn't the bed move then? The world's not your own litter box, Grays. That's a big thing, you Grays. We need to housebreak you. We need to housebreak you. All right. Also, guys, if you are new, and I wanted to bring this up here too, if you are new, real quick, we do our Thursday night show every Thursday night at 9:30. Makes sense if it's called a Thursday show. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about this week. A bunch of interesting things coming up. The 9/11 plea deals for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and some of the others are being reinstated. A bunch of them are getting released. A couple of death row inmates that Biden gave clemency to have rejected it. Trump has had his sentencing date set for his New York City case. In New York City, they're also now fighting the congestion tax, and it's pretty based how people are avoiding the taxes. And then among the other things, too, there's a NICU nurse that was breaking the arms of babies for like 2 years straight, like tried to break the arms and injured like 40 or 50 babies. It's fucking, ugh, it's really bad. We're going to take a look at that and some other stuff, and that'll be Thursday night at 9:30, chat. So, if you want to say whatever you want, you can go pay the $3 on locals. Yes. Yes. Those vitamins I gave Clyde made it increase his testosterone. Yeah. Yeah. Project Veritas lost en banc at the Ninth Circuit. I did hear about that, but I have not seen the ruling on that. So I'll have to get that ready as well for Thursday. There are also some updates on some gun cases. So there are some things coming, chat. There are some things coming. Let me see here. Where is... We're not going to watch her break arms, chat. It's just a story about it. My favorite Larry McReynolds line is when he was back. He said back when they did 100 July races in the summer. What did Larry say? You didn't. I didn't say what you said. Get Steven Stamboulier on. I'd like to. I think he'd be a good guy to talk to. One of the major guys out there doing Second Amendment litigation. Yes, the Ocean State Tactical Mag Ban. Yes. That and the Maryland in general, the Maryland, I think it's like Snoke or something like that, is up in the conference for the SCOTUS as well. It's looking really good, chat. Like that stuff's going to get consolidated together. So it'll be really good. Oh, you just noticed the safe because of all the stickers. Yeah, well, that's what safes do. They just sit there, so minding their own business. So, oh, it's in response to the Thursday shows on Thursday. Yeah. So, it's 25. It feels like 16. It's windy there. It's 27 in Georgia. Ugh. God, that's going to suck for you guys. So, all right, chat. With that said, we are going to wrap this up for the night and enjoy yourselves. We will see you tomorrow night at about 8:30, probably more like 8:45. We'll be doing members only. I'll set that up probably now so it's ready to go. And we are going to do that. But until next time, chat, just remember, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Except for the Wagner family. Holy shit, you people are fucking guilty as fuck. Absolutely worst garbage people ever to exist. So yeah. That's kind of what that is. So good night, everybody. Take care. Also, Deanna's asking, did I watch Karen Reed hearings today? No, I was in court. We will probably watch those over the weekend because they sound very interesting. They sound pretty good. So just don't do what the Wagners did. Don't go murder people for don't go doing that. Or just don't get caught. I mean, that's the only other option. Catherine's a new member. Catherine, thank you for the support and the generosity. Appreciated it very much. All right, chat. So good nights for real. We are landing the plane right now. 20, 30, 10.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, but please talk to a local attorney.